Ashton,
Hi.
how's it going?
Good.
Good, good. So, what'd you think of yesterday? Did you?
That was lots of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. What do you think of Python?
It's really cool. I've done a bunch of stuff
Oh yeah,
yesterday.
you did some stuff on your
Today.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Mhm.
Oh, that's funny. Look. The virtual background is showing up on the ice cap.
Oh yeah, it's probably the same thing. So.
How ridiculous. So we're doing Python now, right? Yeah.
We are indeed.
I been learning a lot there about the Roblox now that I've been going more into the plugins. The plugins add a whole plugins kind of fill in a lot where Roblox
Yeah.
Studio is missing. Where they're like, hey, if you want to do this level, make sure you use this plugin because trying to rotate something and then manipulate it, it's still there's no way to go between absolute and relative.
Mm-hmm.
That's normally something that you would have an option in most 3D manipulating programs where you can either go, forwards the axis that is on the absolute, like the world axis, or you go to the axis relative to that model. You always have to go relative, right? Basically.
Right,
Like
right.
there's some studio tools that you get there that they basically give you the same choices that you would have there to reshape and size things, but you can actually choose between local and world, right? So if you select 10 different parts, you can then resize each of those 10 different parts individually so they'll stay in the same place, but they'll, you know what I mean? So if you say, yeah, because normally if you have a whole bunch of them, it'll resize all of them the same as opposed to in place, right?
Yeah, it's somewhat similar to like in MC Edit when you go to move something, you can do it relative or absolute.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Minecraft is a lot better at indicating the difference between relative and absolute stuff, but because that's essentials, right? You know what I mean? That's hierarchy in some ways there, right? Where you're going from game dot as opposed to parent dot.
Ashton was saying that he did up some stuff in his own in Python, so
Yeah.
it's your choice.
Yeah, I'm gonna join as usual on my computer.
Ashton. Ashton's gonna make him good.
Mm-hmm.
It's Ashburton. There. I'm in, and
Oh, I'm saying it backwards. It's Ashton.
No, Ashton.
Ashburton.
Ashton.
Okay, here.
If anything,
Yes,
we're
I've
not
got
saying
it.
the end long enough.
Wow, that's a lot.
I've got like a
Not really sure what you
thing.
said that, but okay. Oh wait, I told you to.
Yeah, I've
Why
got
don't
like
you
this
try
thing
saying feature list for a list of my features?
to say hello.
Please keep in mind,
Hello.
this is only a test.
Not really sure why you said that, but okay.
Oh, he put time in there, so it
Yeah.
it does it typewriter style. Ooh, why didn't you come up with something like that, David?
Well, we could. I
didn't even know print _ slow was an option.
No, that's a.
That's
I
a function
defined
anyway.
it right.
Oh, that
You can tell because it's not in purple.
That is true. Sleep, though, on the other hand, isn't purple.
Is already in there. And then you see, listen, this isn't obviously. A lot of stuff that I said in here is not in it, but yeah. I actually just had like a Pygame thing just set up in here. If you typed in game, I would run a Pygame script.
See,
which I didn't make. I was just doing that to test if it would work.
I remember now why I have so many weird versions of coding in my head. Is because I learned when I was in high school, they taught us OOT.
Object-oriented Turing?
Turing. Yeah, I learned Turing when I was a kid, okay?
And then object-oriented Turing, yeah, it was the best.
An object-oriented Turing, we didn't even use objects in it, though. That was the thing. It was still a one-page thing. This is high school, right?
Well, we're still not teaching anyone object-oriented programming right now because it's like such a bigger. But the truth is, we kind of
No,
use this
the
object
key to
anyway.
object-oriented thing is where you have like game.parent.child. You know what I mean?
Right. So we do it anyway. We use it, right? Like in
That's
Roblox,
what
for example.
object-oriented, yeah, anything is, right?
Right. You
Local
have
variables too.
classes that are representing objects, or
Yeah.
Roblox calls them instances, but it's same idea, right?
Instances
and
are accurate though still too,
also,
because that's
Well, technically, it's that an object is an instance of a class. So when you say like, I don't know.
no, an instance is an iteration basically. That's why. So you can create multiple instances of the thing though, but it's only still one thing. That if you create
Yeah.
20,000 variables of x equals 1, each one of them is an instance. Each one of them is x
Right,
equals 1.
exactly.
None of them
And-
overlap each other, right?
Clifford, I've got it set up so like if I type in like encrypt, it does the whole encrypt thing. I can go like that.
You still have Clifford equals char x.
Yeah, I just kept it that. Oh, I spelled decrypt wrong. Great.
Encrypt wrong.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's not gonna work because I did that.
Brr. So
should've-
you don't have an else statement set
Oh,
up.
because I typed it wrong. It just totally.
You derailed your
Oh,
program
now I
because
gotta
you
do
didn't
this
have a
again.
proper else statement. Yeah, that's where you need the else, right?
Yeah.
Not really sure why you said that, but okay.
Yeah. I'll have to go
Can you
through all
hear
this
me?
again.
Yeah, how's it going, Logan?
Yes.
Thanks. I'm good.
We're just looking at something Ashton did. He took what we did yesterday and he just played around with a lot of it.
So
Right.
I played big paintball, like the Roblox
yeah.
paintball there, and I guess I happened to catch like the senseis at the dojo there on their lunch break. So I was playing against Kenneth and Sensei Sound Jesse there,
Oh wow.
and I nuked them.
Oh.
Yeah, I was just like, oof. I was just going in there just to try to nuke, get the 100 kill nuke streak, right? And then
Wait, so on the private server or was it public?
no, public.
Oh.
So that's why I was like, yeah, I was just playing by myself, and then they jumped in. I'm like, I feel bad for you guys there. I'm like 102, and I think the second player was like 60.
How are you having it do like the little bit at a time?
Well, that's what the sleep
that's
thing
the
is in between
sleep.
the lines. Yeah.
Right, interesting. That's cool.
But why'd you set it up for time.sleep? Is that?
That's how
That-
you make it wait 0.1 seconds.
Oh,
and then
okay.
it
Is
times
you
one.
sleep it, you don't wait.
Can you go up to your print slow function?
Yeah.
I'm curious. So you have that right.
Fine.
Oh, okay, so that's what you're doing. Interesting. Okay, yeah. What's the flush again? I don't think I've used a standard out flush.
That.
Remember?
Why did I put that in there? Now I can't remember. I did that yesterday. I was just
No, that's okay. I
going
can
through
look
some
it up.
features
Yeah.
and I found that. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Let's put that in there. But yeah, not
Okay.
sure. I tend to do that. I put something in and then I forget why I did it.
Oh, you know why? It's because the way standard out works is that it's a buffer.
Yeah.
Right? So it collects data and then it writes it to terminal.
So you have to purge it.
Oh.
so you-
yeah.
By
Yeah.
flushing it, you're forcing it to write everything to the terminal because you're
Yeah.
purging it. Yes.
Yeah.
Whereas
Oh, that
normally
makes sense,
it would
okay.
wait, right? Similar to like a buffer in YouTube videos or anything.
Yeah.
So yeah.
YouTube
Um,
videos.
Obviously,
Yeah,
the standard
yeah,
out
you-
dot right
I'm
makes
kidding.
sense because
Yeah.
it's writing
Yeah.
a letter. But
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, that makes sense then. Why I put that there?
Yeah. I mean, another way you probably could have done it was using print and just do like end equals blank blank.
Yeah.
That probably would have worked as well. But yeah, I mean, this is as good a way as any, right?
And also, so this,
Hey,
I'm gonna
guys.
do this again and not do it wrong. And go.
So there's an interesting plugin though that's in Roblox where you can take
And
your
then-
script and then
Wait.
minify it, so you crunch everything together, or you beautify it where you open
No,
it
if
up.
I type
So,
in
anyone-
numgen, types in
Oh.
a random number.
Anyone who's joined us, don't worry, we haven't started.
No.
Ashton's just showing us some stuff he had done using things we had worked on yesterday and then expanding on it, right? Doing some of his Googling on his own,
Yeah.
learning some other features, that sort of stuff. And you can see, Ashton, if you scroll up to the top, we can show them how you use some of the import stuff, right? Which we'll get into a little bit, but it just gives you access to more functions, right? Built-in kind of functions that you can use. But yeah, he's kind of built up a whole like little AI type of thing where you can talk to it and it talks back to you.
I hate when it talks back.
Yeah.
It always sounds like such a mean thing. Like, how dare you talk back? And it's like, well, that's how people communicate.
I guess respond might be a better word than to use.
Yeah.
It responds to you.
Yeah.
There you go.
The
Yeah.
only place I've ever seen
Yeah.
talkback used in a normal way there was in the mic there. When you're inside of a studio and
Mhm.
there's the mic that you can talk to people in the studio, that's called the talkback mic, right?
Yeah.
Because you have to press it to talk back, right?
Yeah.
Where you can hear them all the time, but the only way to talk back, which sometimes you do, because you hear them like in the studio be like, hey, turn up the guitar a bit there too, though. And you're like, yeah, sure. And you're like, they can't hear me. Why am I talking? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Question.
Yes.
What's gonna be like the final project thing we're gonna do?
Well, there isn't one final project, but we're going to start building a snake game using Pygame, which is one of the modules we'll work a lot with. And that one
Check
will
it out
probably
in
be
here.
over a few days. So that kind of, you could think of it like a final project. But we'll also be doing a few other things over the next few days as well.
We'll get everyone to hack each other's
Like,
computer,
yeah,
and the
well,
last person
but
standing wins.
we'll do a hangman, we'll do
Yeah,
stuff like that.
we'll do it like
Yeah, yeah.
Facebook style there, right? Where everyone just tries to hack each other, and whoever makes it there gets the cut. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, there's no
So-
epic final. Like, this is supposed to be more enjoyable and fun there too, though, right? Like, it's not supposed to be, like school there. Like, there's a project doing that, right? You
Yeah.
guys can work on as much or as little as you want here too, though, right? We're not trying to pressure you in any way too, though, because it is supposed to be just.
Hey,
It is.
Hagar.
This is a little bit of
Nice
a
to meet you.
difficult sort of thing to go through, but some people like learning this thing. I would love to have learned this when I was younger, right?
Mhm.
It's not, you know what I mean? If you want to play video games, there's tons of them to play, and I'm sure you guys have been doing that for the past couple months anyways, right?
So I'm going to, Ashley, I'm going to stop you sharing and we're
Yeah.
gonna begin. Got a minute left, but whatever. Who's
Counting down the seconds right
I
there.
think everyone's here anyway, right? So
Yeah, I think so.
yeah.
looks like
Oh
everyone's
wait,
here.
no, we might be missing one or two.
Who?
We've got-
Oh
no,
yeah,
we
no,
got-
we definitely don't have
Miller's-
everyone. There's another. Oh wait, we got both
Oh
of
yeah,
them.
yeah. No,
Miller's
we
not
have
here.
six. Yeah, there's 6 people. here.
Logan, sorry.
So cool. All right. So,
Oh, Miller's here now.
Miller. Oh yeah, wait, I forgot we had 7. Hey Miller.
Hi.
So, all right, I'm gonna start with the REPL. I'm gonna talk a little bit more about a few more
Repl.
Python syntax stuff that I
Okay.
wanted to get to yesterday, and then I
Oh, the fun stuff there, eh?
yeah, the fun stuff.
So what
We're
is
gonna
it?
go
What is
back and-
syntax though? Like, because
We
I
just
know
open up the
context is
project.
like where you are. That changes the context of something. What is syntax again? Because that's
So-
something I don't remember since DOS. That's like that's like spelling, isn't it?
Basically, I mean, so in the context of programming languages, syntax really just means
Did you
The
just say the
specific-
context of syntax?
of programming languages.
Okay, yeah.
Syntax just means the specific
Spelling.
way that you do things, that you type stuff up in each language, right? So for
Like
example,
capital letters or periods or whatever.
yeah.
right?
So for
Like-
example, okay, like if anyone's done JavaScript before, and if not, don't worry about it. But I'm just giving an example of syntax. In JavaScript, if I want to do an if statement, oh, let's say I want to do a for loop, actually, even better. I would do like var I equals 0, I plus plus. No, sorry, I is less than 10, I plus plus, right? And then and then I do whatever code in here. Whereas in so that's JavaScript syntax. In Python, we learned it would be instead for I in range 10, and then I just do that, and I don't need that. So that's Python syntax. right?
So that's more about like how the sentences are written there, like how in English
Exactly.
you put the verb before the noun or whatever
Yeah,
there, and in French
exactly.
they do it the other way around. You have to like conjugate the verb. That's
Right. Yeah,
like
exactly,
syntax. So
exactly.
it's just something that when you learn a
That's
language there, you're kind of learning how the sentences kind of come together.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Which and when you know, if you know multiple languages, like in real life, I mean, well, this is real life, but I mean, in natural languages, just as well in programming languages, if you know multiple of them, sometimes you can get confused, right? But
Mhm.
that's where Google comes in handy because you just look up things, right?
Yeah.
Somebody's here.
Somebody's here. Who's here?
Yeah.
That's me. It just kicked me out, and now I'm back.
Oh, yay!
Cool.
Did you hear our discussion on syntax?
Well, part of it.
Well, do you know what syntax means?
Well,
I'm
yeah,
sure
it's
he
pretty
does.
much a
He's-
grammar.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Mhm.
Right. So there was a couple more syntax things I wanted to talk about. So one was when we were doing if statements in Python. We did like a simple ones, right? Like if 5 equals 5, do something, right? And that will obviously be true because
Mhm.
it equals that. So print
Yeah.
true. All right.
Ah.
So that's true. But let's say we wanted to add in like another condition. Like we wanted to say, if it equals 5, do this, but otherwise do something else. So then we can just put an else, right? Else print false. Obviously that in this context will never happen, but there's the else. But what if we want to do more than one if statement? Like we want to check for multiple things. Like let's say we're doing a function and we're passing in a parameter, right? And so we want to check what that parameter is. So it's called x, let's say. So we could say if x equals 1, print true. And then in Python, so it's normally else if in a lot of other languages. In Python, it's called elif. So that's one oddity in Python. So you say elif x equals 2, print
elif.
and true.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like basically a joining of else plus if, right? Elif
Yeah.
Yes.
equals
So that means
3.
if this is true, then you'll do that. But then if that's not true,
Yeah,
then
you'll do this.
maybe
and-
this one will be true, or maybe this one will be true. If
Exactly.
not,
So it'll go
Ah,
through and
false.
check each one. And then if I have an else at the end, then it means if none of those are true, none of those match, then it'll just do this.
yeah.
Right? So
So else's are supposed to be that if it's not working, like if is not true or whatever, then it'll just go down to the else and just do whatever that one says there.
exactly. And you don't have to use an else. It all depends on what you're trying to do, right? But else is a good way sometimes to catch every other situation.
Well, that's how you make decisions and choices, and that's how you make programming that is intelligent, right? Is by using if statements, right?
Yeah.
Going like, if the user types in the thing that they're supposed to type in, then we'll do that. Else, they typed in something wrong, and we'll just say, hey, could you redo that? That doesn't make sense, sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
You're supposed to type in a number here, and you typed in a letter, right? So that would be where the else comes in, or the else if too. They'll go in like if you see a letter,
So
tell
that
them that you
is-
can't type in letters, right? Yeah.
right. So now we know obviously, basic conditions check for like things like that. We also know how to do a not, right? If not x is less than say 7, right?
And you don't
Yeah.
use nots that often. Like in general, there you want your if statement to be true. If
Right.
you use nots, basically you're saying that this is false, and it's generally just kind of like a weird
Somebody's
thing there.
here.
Most times in programming, whenever you do an if statement, you'll want it to be true, right?
Yeah.
And it-
Yeah.
And you
You'll
can
know
always
sometimes you have
rearrange,
to-
right?
Sometimes
can
you have
always-
to do the not thing, but that's like it's if you can
Sometimes.
try
But
to make it
there's
true. Yeah.
there's another way
Mhm.
there's always another way, almost always another way you can say it, right? So
Yeah.
if I want to say if x,
Well, this
so I
would
can
be,
say
and that
if
a lot of
x
the
is
times that
greater
you
than or equal
use,
to 8.
a lot of
right?
times that you use if not, it's like a troubleshooting thing, going like, if it's true, then we'll do this, and you go like, if it's not true, then that again
we'll
might
do
be
this, yeah.
something is wrong there, right? That's just
Yeah.
kind of like,
But
Yeah.
what I wanted to show too was how you can use other logical operators they're called and or. So for example, if I say x is less than
oh, the
7
Boolean.
and y is greater than 5, print true, right? So it'll print, oh, x is not less than 7, right? I should have said if x is less than 9. So there we go. So this will print true, right? Because both happen to be true.
Yeah.
If I do or, then it does it if either one of them is true, right? So like that. So yeah, so you can use not and or to combine stuff when you're checking for conditions.
If you
and-
want to have there to be multiple things, I've normally or statement.
so
Yeah, yeah.
So here's the thing. Sometimes combining is helpful. Sometimes it's not. Like I could have also done it this way, right? If y is greater than 5.
Yeah,
So
There you go. And
you
that's
know,
sometimes why you don't see a lot of or statements is because that means the same thing. The or statements just kind of make it like it makes sense having that in there if it's this or if it's that. But that usually you
right.
the end statements there where you'd be like, x is less than 9 and y is greater than 5 sort of thing, right? So
Right,
that's because
exactly.
normally if you're dealing with something in like a 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional
Well,
thing there, right?
actually, one interesting thing though, Cliff, is I guess technically
Oh.
this works for an and.
Yeah.
This won't work for or
Oh
necessarily.
yeah.
So or
Yeah.
will be different. Like or. So if I said this.
Yeah.
It's not gonna. It
Because
won't.
you have to have the x to be true,
Right. Whereas
or
if
else it won't even check the y part. Then,
whereas
right?
an or will, yes, exactly, make this true, right?
Either or, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're doing and, then sometimes to make it easier, depending on what you feel comfortable with,
Mhm.
for how it makes sense to you, you can do in nested statements, they call them.
Yeah.
Right. And then the last thing is
You
the
generally
comment.
don't want a whole bunch of if statements inside of each other because that can sometimes cause performance issues. Like if you have a lot of them. I mean, you can, but it's just generally you try to at least was it say 3 if statements within each other is usually the limit
Yeah,
that most
exactly.
people
Same with-
generally recommend, and that's a
Yeah.
more meta critic there of programming, right?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, ultimately, the goal is to make sure. Well, one of the goals. The first goal is obviously make sure a program runs
The code
correctly.
works. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's generally just how you do it there. It may
But
not
then
be
a
the right
second
way.
goal
I
is
always
to,
go
a second goal though also is to try and make it readable, right? So we can understand it when we read it or someone else reads it. So this is a Python comment. So if anyone knows what a comment is in programming, does anyone know what a comment is?
Yes.
What's a comment?
Well, a comment is basically like lines of text that aren't like that the computer doesn't listen to. It's something for the human to read so they know
Yeah.
what to
well
do.
put.
Well put. And
Yeah.
there's two main
You
reasons.
can tell
for
I've talked
comment.
with you before, right? That's how I look at it as between the humans and the robots, right?
So there's two main reasons for comment, really. One is to, as Miller just said, to help us understand things. Like,
Yeah.
for example, I know what my code does, right? But if I come back to it 5 months later, I might not remember. So comment can help me put, like I can put a comment before different parts of my code to remind me what things do. Also, if let's say somebody else is working on my code, they may not know, right? But then there's a second thing for a comment. A comment can also be to, let's say I don't want to run this piece of code right now because I'm testing, for example. I can comment out this piece of code and now it won't run, right? So if I like, it'll run right now, but let's say it was giving me some problems and I wanted to, see what happens when I don't run it, I can comment it out temporarily, right? So that's the other purpose of a comment.
Yeah, and that's something most people don't usually use that often. That's usually if you what I mean. You come up with a code that's a good code. It's just not the right thing that you need, right? Generally, because if you have code that doesn't work there, like if you make a mistake, deleting it is fine. You know what I mean? Like you can always write it up again.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times people will comment out code that they like. It's good code. It just can't be you know what I mean? Things.
Yeah.
One thing with Python comments is they don't have what's called multi-line comments. So it only works for one line. So if I say this is a Python comment and commenting is fun. So right now, this is not a comment, right? Python will try to run this as code.
And you could tell that because REPL will gray it out there too, though, which makes it so much easier. A lot of the times they'll turn it green, but that's a very common
Yeah.
for most
Yeah.
programming assistant things, right?
Yeah. So yeah, no. So that I think
Mhm.
covers the syntax stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Import.
That's
you know,
just
we
an
talked about.
introduction to it there. No one needs to remember this stuff again. We'll come
Yeah.
up with it again there and try to use it in there. It's just, it's best that we try to give you an example independently before we do anything there. So then once you get into it and we talk to you about it again, it's not like the first time that you're like, what, you know what I mean? What's going on?
Exactly. So,
Okay.
Cliff, do you want to share your screen and we can start making a snake game?
Yay!
Sure. I'm just going to close out of the Roblox studio. I realize I have that in the background and that's, yeah. Okay. Boop, boop, boop.
All right.
All right. Where?
Another something game pie. Oh. Game pie. Alright.
So we are going to use, so in Python, you've seen the import statement a little bit already. Python calls them modules. Modules are basically code other people have written that we can import into our code to be able to use those functions, right? Because they may not be built-in functions, but they may be functions and stuff like that that other people have written that we can take advantage of. So you actually want to click, not Python, you want to click Pygame.
Oh,
So type in Pygame.
how come it doesn't show Pygame for me here? Okay. I have to type it in.
Pygame.
Yeah,
So make sure you do a REPL with Pygame, guys.
Yeah. So when you start up your new REPL here, guys, make sure that normally we pick Python out of there. So this other one has Pygame. It's spelled like this. It has the same symbol too. It may come up on your thing there first. There's a chance, but if not, you'll just have to type it out.
Yeah.
I think I know. I think it's because you didn't add it to your like favorites when you're setting up your
Yeah, I
account.
think that's right.
Yeah,
You
because
can
it
put your
didn't pop up
favorite.
first for me either.
Yeah. And then, we're going to make a snake game. So you could call it snake game if you want, or you can leave it as Cliff's is stupendously on something.
Not using that stupendously unwritten syndrome as my snake.
Snake. I said my first Python snake game. Yeah.
Yay.
Me?
Yay.
Great REPL.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't have it at the top, and it won't let me scroll down because it'll just go out of the language thing, and I don't have a search bar for the languages. Oh wait,
We'll wait.
never mind. I got it.
Okay.
All right, cool.
Oh, I was about to say, wait, like changing your language to English to French? I was confused for a second.
So the first thing we're
Right.
going to do is we're going to import 3 different modules. So we're going to type in import.
Okay.
Where do we?
I went at the top, import, space,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Space.
and then Pygame, P-Y, and then the word game. Like, all right.
I think I made
Now,
something.
the reason that we select, don't worry about the green line. It's just the REPL telling us we've imported it, but not using it right now, and we will use it. So,
Pygame imported but not used.
as you can see, it's a set of Python modules designed for writing games.
Oh.
It is complicated technical stuff, so don't worry about that. But you'll see the reason we selected Pygame for our REPL is because now we have 2 screens on the right. We have the top part says run, your REPL to see your output, the Pygame part, and then we also have the command line on the bottom, right? So
Game screen,
Command
command
prompt.
screen. Yeah, command prompt there or message
command prompt,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or
The way
terminal.
that the
yeah.
robots can talk to the humans.
And whenever you're using modules, if you're ever not sure what to do or what those models, how to work with those modules, you can
Yeah.
always look up documentation. So I'm just putting in chat. We're not going to go through it. That's for your own time if you want. But in the chat, I put the documentation for Pygame. So the
And
next
that's
Mhm.
part of coding there that they say read the fantastic manual. It is one of the more if you want to learn any coding languages there too, though. You're gonna have to read up. Like, there's always going to be documentation for the coding language. They never just do that up without this here because it's
Yeah.
the only way to learn. You know what
And
I
the
mean?
benefit too of doing it is because then we don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? As we say.
Yeah.
So we don't have to write everything to figure out how to run a game window and everything else. We just use Pygame and make our games.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next thing we're going to import is time.
Time.
So as it sounds like, it's a module to work with time stuff, dates and times and that sort of stuff. TIME, not TYME.
I thought you meant time as in like the thing you put in pasta sauce.
But that's
Huh?
THYME. So
Bit
that's
of basil, bit of thyme, bit of oregano.
But even that's
Because time-
THYME though. So you still spelled it wrong.
Oh, I did. Did I? I know. This Python thing.
And then we're also going to import random,
Okay.
which, as the name sounds like, is a module to let us deal with random stuff, like creating random numbers and so on and so forth. All right. And
Pretty much just
then,
the numbers, right?
yeah, I think it's really just the numbers, but you know, I've never looked at the documentation for random. I just use it only for the numbers.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then the next thing we're gonna do is a Pygame specific function command called pygame.init init.
Okay.
Sorry, say that again.
So Pygame. So you
Where-
can put a space on line 5, let's say. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Pygame dot init and then the 2 brackets in it. Yeah. There you go. So basically
That's a Pygame, isn't it?
Yeah. So, and if you wanted to put a comment, for example, to remind you, this basically starts the game by initializing it. So it's something that we have to do with Pygame. And
What was comments for this?
the hashtag. Oh, right.
Initialize game. I don't know how to spell initialize game. There.
Yeah, or you can say we'll start the game. There you go. Either way.
I was trying to say what you said, but then I forgot.
Start the game by initializing it. That's what I said. You could do that if you wanted, but it doesn't matter.
Every time I try to type in game, it keeps on thinking I'm saying something else.
Okay, so then we're gonna put a space and an empty line like if it's done. So on line 8 now,
Okay.
we are going to make a few variables to keep track of colors for us. But so before we get into that, does anyone know what an array is?
An array is a set of series of
That's the
variables.
first. Well, that's not a bad idea. Miller, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say it was a list. It's a list.
Yeah, basically, the simplest way to say it is a list. But he's right. Cliff is right. It's a set of variables, a set of values that we can use, and Python has a great way of doing that, which is there's a few ways to do it, but one of them, which we'll see, is to put it in brackets. So we're gonna type in white
Okay.
equals the space equals, and then open up the bracket or parentheses. No. Just type in the open, like Shift +9. And
Oh,
in
just
there,
the
we're
regular
gonna
brackets.
type,
Yeah.
in there, we're going to type 255,
Mm-hmm.
comma 255, comma 255.
Are those
This-
codes? Oh.
So this is basically RGB, if anyone remembers.
That
or
seems like
knows
a
what
red,
RGB
green,
is.
blue number
Yeah,
values,
it is.
right?
So it's a red, green, blue value we're going to eventually use for the color white.
Where if you have a maximum of all the colors, right, that it does make white there if you ignore brightness, basically, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But in Python, what we're doing right now is we're just creating this variable and making it an array, a list of 3 number values or integer values, right?
This is
Yeah.
where
255
255 is the maximum color value for that too, though. That's why it may not seem 255 may not seem like a significant number to everybody else, but or to some people, right? But it's in computer language, 255 is one of those like max value things that you see in a lot of games, actually. Where
Oh.
we're going
it goes
to
between
make-
0 to 255, yeah. And
Yeah.
It's hard to explain that too, though, but it has to do with like binary numbers and how they work, right?
Exactly. So we're going to make 5 more color variables. The next one is
Okay.
yellow equals.
Oh,
Yeah, if you just want to go through all
You
of
can copy and paste it or type it all out.
No, yeah, we're gonna have to do a
Yellow-
different one.
For yellow, we'll do 255, 255, 102. So remember, you have to put commas in between, like what Cliff is doing. And then we're going to do black. Black is just all zeros. This is the opposite of white, right? It's the absence of all color. Then we'll do red. And for that one, we will do 213, 50, and then 80.
gonna copy and paste the same line.
And then we'll do green. And don't worry, once we're done this, we'll give you guys a moment. Get everyone
Yeah.
catch up.
Once I'm done typing this, it'll be gone forever, and you'll never see
That's
this.
too late.
Oh.
So next one is green after red. Green, and that'll be 0, 255, and then 0.
Ah.
And then
Which is the green part of the red, green, blue numbers, right?
yeah, and then blue is the last one. And for that one, we're going to use 50, 153, 213. Yeah. So
That's not really
They-
like a blue. That's gonna be like a little bit.
right, same with the red, right?
Darker-
So
darker blue.
They've chosen some values for us.
Oh, yeah, lighter blue actually.
We could have, if we wanted, and we could even change this later, right? If we want to, make it similar to green is all green. We can make it all blue and all red, right?
If we change any of these numbers, it'll change the color that we'll be doing up. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, red, and then I just need the green and blue.
And if you wanted to put a comment, you could to remind you that these are the color variables. But you know, it's up to you, right? Whatever you feel comfortable with.
Alright,
Well, how else
five.
am I gonna remember if red is a color?
I don't know. That's true.
Yeah.
That's
These are
why some
colors.
comments are
You
redundant.
think, yeah, you think it went to compile by accident. Yeah, you know what to do to get rid of that? You press escape.
Oh,
If it,
okay,
like,
thanks.
pops up with the autocomplete and it keeps autocompleting for you, you can press escape. And it'll get rid of the autocomplete.
Okay, I'm gonna make a comment. And I'm gonna say. Where's comments? Oh,
Being
there
like-
it is. Number symbol.
Yeah.
So
Comments
next is-
should go before. Yeah.
Yeah, usually comments go before, although sometimes people put them on the side to the right of it. So like you could tab over, for
Yes.
example, after the line of code, and then you could put a comment beside it on the same line.
These are colors.
Color
Put in
variables.
modules.
That's I
How can
spell
you remember
colors
that?
the American
Actually, that's
way
not
too.
true because black
I
and
just
red
said
are
color
shades,
variables.
not colors.
Actually, because this is a computer, white is a color because it's a mixture of
Yes.
these colors, right? Where they're
Yeah.
it's not technically a shade.
Oh yeah, because it's
Yes.
the
White is a color. It's just
Yeah,
a
'cause it's
mixture of all the
RGB.
colors.
White
Right,
is
that's
both
why-
a shade and colors. I think black is like the only real shade, right?
Yeah, black is absence of all color. White, if you run it through a prism.
That's why you
remember,
can't
it's
call
the
black
other
a color,
right?
and you call it a shade, right? And then
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, white's supposed to be
Yeah.
like a mixture.
No,
of
this was
everything.
white because it's RGB.
Yeah. Well,
then-
see, white in real
This
life
is
is
all
not
done.
actually a mixture of all the colors. White is
No,
actually
it's just
a shade in real
Yeah.
life, but in computer world, it's actually a combination. So you can
Even paint? Even paint? is
this
a
doesn't
shade?
make sense because there's
No,
only
Look,
red, green,
even
and
in
blue
real life, though, if you shine
on a
like
computer.
a white light through a prism, you will see all the
Well,
other
you
colors,
you
right?
have to actually take the white light and separate it to get all the different colors in real life. Whereas
Ah.
in computers, you do the opposite. You actually take all of those, and then that's
Fine.
why I'm like, it's actually that's just me being literal.
technical. Yeah,
Yeah. Right.
Mm.
But that
But it's
sometimes it's
something-
helpful when you're working with computers to be super technical
Sometimes it
Yeah,
is.
because
Yeah,
the
it's good to
computers
know,
are
right?
gonna
because you
Yeah.
just have to be
obviously
like,
not. They're gonna do it exactly what you say. So
yeah, right.
they'd
So
have to do the same.
the
You mixed
uh,
all the colors together in real life, and you get brown.
so the
Oh,
next
you do?
Yeah.
Oh.
right.
the
Huh.
next
No, I like-
two.
Gray.
Yeah.
Actually, speaking of gray, does anyone know using RGB values how to get a gray color?
Well, you can go like into
No.
Google, like the
So-
color wheel.
If you gray basically is three values the same. Yeah. It doesn't matter
Any
what the
three
value
values.
is.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and you'll notice if you say did like 250, 250, 250, it'll be a lighter gray than if you say did 5, 5, and 5, right?
So
Be gray, but it'll be a different shade,
that is
lighter versus darker.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And it's any of those. So if you do like 100, 100, 100, that'll be a gray. If you do 150, 150, 150, that's still.
Exactly.
yeah. I
So-
should add gray to the color wheel.
Yeah.
Well, to
Do
the
you
color
want me to
wheel.
add gray?
We're not going to use gray, but you're welcome to add it if you like.
Oh,
And you
it'll
can
just.
always choose to use it later too if you want.
There you go.
Decorate
Right?
There you go.
shading.
More is
Shading.
more.
We need
Okay.
shading.
So, so we're gonna create two more variables, and these are gonna hold basically the width and the height for a screen. So
Okay.
they call the variables dis underscore width and dis underscore height, meaning display width and height. But I find them confusing,
width
so
again.
you can call them what you want.
How do you spell width again?
width.
Oh, thank you.
I know that D is like the weird thing in there, but that would be width, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I know how to spell every other part of width except for the D. I don't know where to put it sometimes.
Yeah, width.
Yeah. So for this width, this width, it sounds so funny to me.
Yeah.
We're gonna set that to 600. So this width is 600, and this height is 400.
Okay.
And again, you can put in a comment if you'd like. Because for me, I really don't remember what this width is supposed to mean. You know, I don't know. It's basically the size of a window. So you could say
I'm gonna call it screen size.
size of a screen. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, and you can.
Screen.
I was
rename
going
it.
to say screen too, but then I was like window screen. There you go, both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then to set it, we're going to type in DIS, which I guess stands for display.
Oh.
Equals
Oh, that's why it's called DIS.
DIS space.
I could do
equals-
display size. DIS equals.
See, I personally would do DISP display, but again, this is what they choose. Pygame dot display dot set underscore mode, and then open bracket and open a second bracket, and then we're going to type in this width comma this height, and then close that second bracket. And yeah, so that sets the game resolution. And you could again put in a comment if you'd like. The reason that we do it that way is if you looked in the documentation for set mode. Let me see if I can quickly find it.
This is more just to kind of tell me what dis means.
Right. So pygame.display.set mode, they takes in basically a size, and it has to be like, you know, one parameter it's called, but you know, in brackets, right? So instead of doing this width and then this height is 2 parameters, we're technically doing 1 parameter, but we're putting them both in like an array and sending it. So now if you run the program, I mean, it won't do much, but it should draw a window at least. You wanna try it, Cliff?
So if I hit run, you're saying this will work?
It should draw a window at least.
Updating, resolving. Oh, it's taking its
don't worry about
time.
it. It's taking a bit of time, but you see, we have a bit of a window. What? We had a window. What happened now?
For that happened to I ran it earlier, and you have to run it twice for it to work.
Okay, so run it a second time then. So that's
There. Wait, it
Oh.
pops up with a window for a second for you on the side, but mine doesn't.
Oh,
Mine's just.
yeah.
Oh, now it does. Now it works. That's so weird. It's like a virtual machine that you make yourself. It's
Yeah, I
Huh.
don't know why it's not
interesting.
staying, eh? It pops up, but it's not staying. But
It says
could be because-
Pygame window but it disappears instantly.
Yeah, it could be because we don't have anything else written for the code. So
So
and then that might be.
Okay.
yeah, it says there's an error. It says there's
Yeah.
errors.
So you know what?
I mean, it doesn't say any red scary errors in there, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
let's,
This is normal for when you have like command line prompts in coding. It'll sometimes show like a whole bunch of stuff in there, and it doesn't always mean things are bad. It just means a whole bunch of stuff is happening, which it should be, right?
Right,
Yeah,
which
it's more
know-
like a warning than an error. I guess.
yeah, or well, it does say one returned error, but that's not a big deal, I don't think.
But it says
Uh,
evaluating. Yeah.
Yeah. But I
It's saying
mean,
mostly that there's nothing
yeah.
there, right? So that could be just because it's an empty file. And a lot of times, if
That's
you
more-
try to run a code with nothing in it, a lot of times you will get errors because generally speaking, these things, they're supposed to be running code through them. So when you put nothing
Right.
in them, it's like turning the microwave on with nothing in it there, where
Yeah.
it was like there's
Yeah.
supposed to be something in here, and it usually
So-
breaks down at that point.
So sorry guys, I wasn't really paying attention to chat, and Sam, I just saw you said
Oh.
I'm not ready. How are you doing now?
yeah, we were okay. Yeah, we
Cool.
weren't zipping ahead too far ahead there. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sorry,
Thanks.
everyone. I should be paying attention to chat, but I forget it sometimes.
No, it's
Um,
okay.
Cool. So the next thing we're gonna type in underneath that display set mode line is pygame
Okay.
dot display dot set underscore caption. So we're gonna set a caption for a window.
Display.
Oh, I start off with the underscore.
No, set
Oh.
underscore caption. And in brackets, we're gonna type in quotes, snake game, snake space game.
Again. Wahoo.
Yeah. You could capitalize snake and game if you'd like. You don't have to. You could type in, really, it's whatever caption you want. So you can put in whatever you want.
Oh, Joe, I
Alright,
like capitalizing every other letter.
so that sets a title, it sets a caption, right? At the beginning of the top of the window.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're going to create a variable that will act as an in-game timer, right? So it tracks how long the game has been running. So we're gonna say next line, title, nice. Clock, so we'll call our variable clock, equals
This and this.
pygame dot time dot clock with a capital C,
Screen.
and then the two brackets, open and close brackets.
Okay, I guess, gotta type that in. 'Cause
And
I'm doing a comment. Clock equals pygame.
So it's like the same thing in Roblox too. How the highest thing that you can call there is game, and then from there it goes down to like your workspace and
Exactly.
the hierarchy.
Time
The pygame
something-
is
Yeah, so time is something in pygame, so it's display, and then set mode, set caption, the functions, right? In
Yeah.
display.
and pygame is kind of like the language, the module that we're working with here. So it's basically you're just calling out an individual thing in the code.
And so in this case too, clock is capital C clock is basically an object in time that represents a clock, the clock, the
Mhm.
time. And so
It's kind of whenever you see like these dots in between things here, try to think of it like files inside of the computer. So inside of pygame, there's a folder called time, and inside of that folder, there's a thing called clock. We can't see it here. There is indications of it in other places, mind you, like in the documentation there, in the notes for the language itself. But that's how we know to call this. You wouldn't be able to find this any other way there. Like if you type in pygame and then do period, it'll show you these
a
are
few
the things.
but not a lot. Like
Yeah.
you see, it doesn't do that good a job of pulling up all the functions in pygame, right? Because
But
it's
these
an
are all the
auto-
things that are
created
inside
folder.
of pygame that you can call, right? So then if you you know what I mean, click on any of these stuff here too, though. Then if you hit period again, these are things inside of user event, right?
Right.
So it's just kind of like it's best to just think of it like whenever you see periods and stuff like that. It's just like think of it as it files inside of folders there.
Right. Because
Yeah.
that's how we can access it, right? Because it's a module we're importing.
Yeah.
So we can't just call clock or just call.
As
set
opposed
clock.
to having to type this out every time we want to use clock, we just say clock, right? So this is the whole
Yeah.
point of this variable. It's not.
Someone said something in chat. By the way.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh.
We need a minute or two. Cool. All right.
Okay.
So we'll
Oh,
give you
okay.
a minute or two.
Yeah. But yeah, well, we were just explaining this
Yeah,
part here, right?
Exactly.
And you'll see this a lot, like if you ever use Unity or other object orientated style coding there too, though, like like Roblox, there's the other camp that we're running this week. These are things that you'll see common in programming, right? So it's why, especially with Pygame, how come this one isn't purple is because this isn't referencing anything inside of the code. It is the code. Pygame is, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
since it's a module that we had to bring into here, it is kind of like its own world, its own universe, right?
Mhm.
So it would be like if we were calling Windows or if we're calling Mac OS or something like that, right? These
yeah.
are these are
Exactly.
programs basically inside of it there. Well,
Yeah.
not even always programs. They could be just files and stuff like that too, right? So that's why it's like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's basically like if you were doing like, you know, oh man, I guess not a lot of people use DOS, so they don't know about directories, right? But
Oh, I
Yeah, but-
used DOS before
yeah, well, like,
but file folders, even in Windows,
on a virtual
same
machine.
idea with file folders, right?
Huh.
You might have on your desktop a file folder called My Stuff, and inside of that you have, folder 1 and folder 2, and inside of folder 1 you have a few files, right? It's
Yeah.
the same sort of idea.
or like in web pages and that too, how it says like,
That's
you know what I
another-
mean, my name up here and then it says slash. So if instead of slash, if you just change that to a period, right, it would mean essentially the same thing here, where this RepL is the big website, and if you do that dot, you know what I mean, whatever the next web page is there, right? But instead of using slashes, they use periods, right?
Right.
That's about it there. So if this was like this might actually be kind of a bit more understandable to some people, because that would essentially what it means that we're inside a Pygame. There's a thing called, a folder called time or web page.
Yeah.
That, right? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And it's like that for
Yeah.
wherever you see any of the periods here. So when you see these periods here where it says Pygame display, and then inside the display there's set mode, right?
Yeah.
There might be more than one thing called set mode in Pygame, but inside a display, that's a different one than if there was another set mode inside of, say, .time, right?
Right,
Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, nobody ever really explained that to me when I first started doing this. That's why I was always like, what is with these
Mm.
period things here? But it's just, yeah,
But
it's like
no,
files.
it's a good
Yeah, it's-
explanation, Cliff. Like, yeah.
Mhm.
Because I guess like when you become used to it, you just kind of take it for granted. But yeah, it isn't really that obvious initially, like why do we do the dots, right?
But that's just so instead of typing out this whole big line here, we just type in clock. It means the same thing as this whole thing. So
Yeah.
that's kind of like one way you can use variables is just to shorten up long names of stuff, right? Because we can't control how long this thing is. So that's why it's like if we call it,
Yeah. So anytime we have
Anything
to
else?
we have to use the clock stuff, we just use a small c clock variable.
Yeah.
As opposed to So all right, cool. So
everything seems
Let's-
good. And there's
cool. So let's continue. So
okay.
so there's going to be quite a bit of setup that we're going to kind of go through. Eventually, we will see how it all comes together. But we will try our best to explain things as we go along. But if you don't get everything that we're typing in as we go along, don't worry about it for now.
You will eventually. A lot of times that people teach coding, because there's a lot of times people wanted to teach coding beforehand where they show you every little thing that you do and how they connect, right? It takes a long time, but then eventually a lot of it becomes redundant because you guys understand how variables work, how this equal sign makes, these things connect together.
Yeah.
It happens a lot. There's no reason to go over it over again there. So sometimes to kind of teach you other concepts, we have to skip over
Yeah.
some other little things
So-
in there. So we will explain it eventually there, right?
Yeah, so we're gonna create two more variables. One is called snake_block, and we're gonna give it the value of 10. And then the other is snake_speed, and we're gonna give it the value of 15. Yeah, and for now, we're not gonna worry about what they're gonna do because we will eventually see that once we add in all the code or, once we get more into it. But basically, we're going to use them at some point for stuff. So then the next thing we're going to do, some more variables. All right, cool. So the next thing we're going to do is, again, use two Pygame specific things to create fonts. So the first one is a variable called font underscore style. And we're going to say font underscore style equals Pygame dot font, F-O-N-T, dot capital S-Y-S, capital F-O-N-T. So sys font. And open brackets.
Okay, font.
And it actually
underscore-
shows it here in the fill out thing what it needs after that. These open brackets, how it needs a name, size, bold, italic, constructor.
Yeah,
Like these are
yeah.
basically just like
And you'll see here how it says above, name
Yeah.
size, bold equals 0, italics equals 0, constructor equals none. Meaning that if we don't put those last three in, there's already default values for those.
yeah,
So we don't
these
have to
equal
worry.
signs here. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but the
at the
first
very
two
least, we have to
do.
put in the name and the size of the font, right?
Yeah. So for the name, we're going to put in quotes. The first one, for this one, we're going to put BAHNSCHRIFT. Okay, that's a little complicated. So let me type that in the chat for you guys.
Wow, they came up with a big German word to put in here, right? Oof.
Yes. So that's
The
the
Bandschrift.
and then after the quotes, we're going to put comma.
So
And
that's the name, yeah.
yeah, and the size of 25. So number 25.
And obviously, we know that this is a name within the fonts here because there's, again, documentation there somewhere showing what fonts are available within Pygame itself.
Right. So
I
then
don't think that's a font inside of my computer. I would
No,
remember
no,
if
don't
I had
think so either.
a Bandschrift.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Sounds everything in German though sounds like some sort of weapon though, right? Like sounds like they got the Bandschrifts, right? Yeah. And then so for the other two things there, if we wanted to change, bold or italic here, they start off at 0, which obviously means false. That means no. This would make it bold.
Yeah.
But since we put in nothing, it's just going to not put it bold, not put it italic, not do constructor, whatever the constructor means, I guess. I don't
Yeah.
even know. That's a font thing, right? Font has its own little programs.
But
itself.
you have an extra comma in there, Cliff, that you should take out after.
Uh-oh.
25.
I have an extra comment.
No, comma after 25.
Oh.
Like you put a comma in there,
Yeah.
which we don't want unless we're adding in.
Yeah. Only two things there. Except if we have a comma in that after that, it's going to not like that because it's going to be
Yeah.
like, there should be something else here. There's nothing.
Exactly.
The
And so then,
humans messed up again.
Da-da-da.
so after font style, the second font variable that we're going to create is score underscore font. So this will
Okay.
basically be what it sounds like. It'll be a font specific for a score text equals same thing, pygame.font.sysfont. And this time in quotes, we're going to put comic, S-A-N-S, M-S. So Comic Sans MS.
Undertale.
All one word, Cliff.
Oh,
Comic, S-A-N-S, and then M-S at the end.
MS.
Yeah, you could. I think it's small. They do small. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, MS. That is because of running DOS there. I'm used to just having MS capitalized.
Yeah, and then capitals. Comma, and then the number 35.
35.
So yeah, these are going to be our text fonts, right? So whenever we're
Mhm.
going to change text in the game, these are what we'll do.
So like the default font will be this one, and obviously for the score, it'll be Comic Sans.
Right.
I'm
exactly.
Undertale.
All right. So then next, we are going to define a function that we're going to use eventually, like so we can call stuff. So we're going to.
Logan's having a problem.
Oh, you've
I
got
got the red
It's-
lines
it's-
under some of my code.
Thanks, Miller, for noticing that. So, Logan, can you tell us what code, the line of code is, or maybe can you show us? I can let multiple people share, so you can share it if you want.
Yeah, and it's probably just a typo, which happens all the time. Like it's, you know what I mean? Like that's like 9 times out of 10, that's what I usually find is the problem, right? And I kind of typed in some weird stuff up there too, though. So if you guys were following along with me, you might accidentally type in something wrong there too, though, right? So,
Ben Shrift, like Ben
So-
Shrift.
so if you want to share your
Font-
screen there, so we
Oh,
can
okay,
check out.
so Logan,
or-
it
or-
should be font_style equals pygame.font.sysfont. So no, put your cursor on after font_style.
Okay, can you just say that one more time? Because, yeah, Sam's just say that one more time.
Sure. So put your cursor after the word style. So font_style,
Yeah.
right? Equals, so space, and then equals, and then space again. Oh, put your cursor where it was. Yeah, space. Pygame. No, so before the dot, you want Pygame. Yeah,
Thank you.
and the same thing for line 31.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Yes,
I'll
no
stop
worries.
there.
Yeah, so basically font style and score font are variable names we're given,
Yep.
and we're putting them equal to the system fonts in Pygame. Von Schrift and Comic Sans. MS. All right, and are we ready to move on, guys?
Yes, well,
Yeah.
I am.
Sam
Cool.
looks ready.
All right.
It just
So then we're gonna- What's up?
Oh, wait,
the long word thing.
the Pan Schrift.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
So
wow,
I
I spelled
typed that
that's
in
funny.
the
That's a
chat.
funny font name. That's
nice.
a funny name for a
Are you
font.
Just because there's an
Pan
SCH, like that right there. That is the most German sounding thing.
Shrift.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I don't think there's an English word with SCH, is there?
not generally.
No.
Russian words and stuff like that, they have an actual sound. Like it's kind of like in Russian, it sounds more like a ch. So
Yeah.
you see that, you'll see the SCH in there. That's actually a different sound that we don't even have in English, right?
Yeah,
It's like a
yeah,
chi.
exactly.
It's like where you say CH and SH at the same time, basically. Shis. Yeah, it's weird to say sh, right?
Yeah. And then to have an R after that as well.
Yeah.
So now
Which is pronounced as a TZ, basically. So that's usually, that's
Yeah.
actually how you kind of pronounce an SCH there. It's like the same way you'd pronounce a TZ. And you're like, how do you pronounce a TZ?
yeah. So
And it's not zzz, but it's kind of like that.
so on line 32, we're going to define our own functions. So we're
I
gonna
might be
say-
off on lines here too, though, because I think I put in extra comments or spaces on here too.
Yeah,
So you're
and
not.
that's
I
right.
added extra
So-
extra spaces
Extra-
as well.
Yeah, same. I'm
Yeah.
at like line 36 right now.
Yeah, I'm using line numbers only based on what I'm seeing.
Based
on
off of
the screen.
my screen here, so
But,
that's yeah. Sorry, my friends.
Yeah. No, and that's okay. I'll just try to remember that as well.
I'm at line 36 for me. 'cause I
Cool.
added
Okay.
Yeah.
gaps.
At line.
Yeah, same. I'm on line 36.
Wonderful. Okay, so we're all on the
Alright.
wrong lines. Good.
Yeah, I'm on line 26. And
Perfect.
I didn't finish it, but yeah.
Yeah, you could be on line 26. That makes sense. Okay.
So we're gonna type in DEF because we're gonna define our own function, then space, and we're gonna call it your score. So YOUR_score. And it's
Oh, dang
bracket-
it.
Underscore score. Yeah.
and then
Oh, no,
brackets.
fill the complete thing filled in what I was
Oh yeah, so
typing.
you can always press escape, type escape when that autocomplete comes up if it's
Yeah.
coming to the wrong thing. And so after score, we're gonna open up a brackets
Okay.
and type in the word score. So
And
basically,
those brackets got to be right next to your score, or else it's just going to be brackets. These are not related
Right,
to
it
anything
doesn't
there,
work.
right?
Yeah.
Just so you know, there, if those brackets are touching something else, that actually means that it's part of that thing, right?
yeah. And then in the brackets, we're gonna type in the word score. inside the
Okay.
bracket. So because we are gonna take in a parameter, this function. It's a parameter that we're gonna call score.
So is this a string or is this a variable?
Well, we see. This is the beauty with Python. Right now, we don't need to worry about it.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying.
because-
So there's no quotes there, so it's not a string. We're putting in a
No,
variable
we're putting
called
it
score.
right. Sorry, you're
We
right. We're
haven't
putting a
talked
variable
about
there.
that beforehand. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Yeah,
Right.
alright.
Wait, that is
Variable.
true. Does everyone know? Or does anyone know what a parameter is for a function?
What? No.
Huh?
What is a parameter?
A
I've used that
parameter.
word a few times.
A parameter is the thing that you put into the functions, the things that are in the brackets there generally, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. So that's why we are saying for our
So
language-
Bandschrift is one of the
Bandschrift.
parameters here for system font, and then 25
Yes.
is the second parameter it would be called here, and that's only, and it's not that it's another parameter, it is the second parameter because Bandschrift came first.
Bandschrift.
you remember if Cliff, I think if you put your cursor over sys font,
Oh yeah.
it comes up with, they've called it parameter name.
Oops, sorry. There we go. This thing is acting weird to me. Yeah,
They've
and
called
this
it
is why
parameter
they
name.
tell us for the function systfont that it takes in 5 parameters. 2 of them are mandatory, 3 of them are optional here, right?
Right.
Ah.
They've called it
Yes.
name, size, bold, whatever, right? So
This kind of helps you understand how functions and everything works in the future too, right? Like it's like, yeah, people call them parameters. Some of them call them paras even too for short.
Yeah.
And then so then after the closing bracket, we're gonna put a colon because we
Okay.
want
Full colon because that's what we have to do. Yeah.
Yeah, and enter, and it should automatically tab you in. If it doesn't,
Yeah.
then you
There's a
press
space
tab.
there. Yeah. Or
And
double
so
space.
we're gonna type in value. So a
Okay.
new variable called value equals score underscore font. So remember our variable score font dot render. So that's a function in Pygame, right? For fonts, it can render stuff. And in brackets, we are going to type in quotes your score with a colon. So basically, we're gonna now have it show the person's score, right? So your score.
This will be the
with a-
part that will be the humans will see this one, right? No
Yeah,
human will
with a
see
space.
Bandschrift.
right? And then,
Bandschrift.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they will see your score here.
right, and then
Mhm.
after that quotes, we're gonna type plus. You're outside the brackets, yeah. Plus, and then we're gonna use the str function that we saw before, and str bracket score.
Your score.
Yeah, so we're gonna basically convert score, a parameter, to a string. And
Oh, let's see. I added SF to STR.
And that's only because we have these brackets over here, right? So if the brackets weren't in there and we were just displaying score by itself, we wouldn't need to convert it to a string. But it's
right, but
put the
because we're
two
adding it to
strings-
an existing string, we have
Yeah.
to convert it. Yeah.
yeah,
and
and that's something that doesn't happen in all coding languages, but in this one specifically.
Right. And
Mhm.
then after score, so after that first closing bracket, but not the second one, we're going to put a comma.
Right here.
Yes.
Yeah. And then we're going to type in.
I gotta expand my screen here a bit just so
I,
it's more
yeah. Yeah,
There we go.
I can't really see it.
Again, though, like if you typed out stuff into the second line here, it would still count as the first line. It just doesn't look visually like it's all one line, right? Like if I had this all crammed up like here, then line 29 takes 2 lines, even though it's still
Right, exactly. So that can be a bit confusing, but if you understand it, it can be
yeah.
sometimes helpful.
So don't worry there if you go to the next one. I'm just expanding this so you guys can see better.
Right. So then we're going to type in the word true with a capital T. So
Okay.
capital T.
Oh, yeah.
So we are typing in a keyword, and then comma, and finally we're going to type in yellow, our variable for the color yellow.
Yeah, so that should be an autocomplete one, right?
So you'll see Cliff, if you put your cursor back where it was, where the tooltip came up, you might need to put over render, right? You'll see.
Oh, over render? There we go. Yeah, okay, so this, here we go.
Oh, okay. No, I don't know why. Oh, yeah, it does show that.
Oh, pie flakes.
No, go back over render, I think.
Pie flakes.
Yeah, don't worry about the pie flakes thing, but underneath it, you'll see it says render self. So we're not ignoring the self thing. Text, anti-alias, which is what the true is for, but don't worry about it if you don't know what anti-alias is. It's a render thing. And then we're given a color.
Yeah.
Right?
Anti-alias is where it gets rid of those little jagged parts of the bit-looking things, right?
Okay, see,
Makes
I
it
never
look-
knew what anti-alias was either. I just knew it's a render.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ah.
So that's why sometimes people want anti-aliasing thing off there within a lot of games nowadays because they want their games to look like chip characters and all that stuff there, where a lot of games could run them with anti-aliasing and then your character looks smooth. It's like, Mario without the bumps.
Yeah. So,
Da-da-da-da-da.
And then, so the next line we're going to add, still inside of our function.
Oof, this is a long function.
Yeah.
So right after yellow?
Yeah.
Or in the
after
next line,
closing
do you mean?
brackets, next line. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So next line, the undervalue. Okay.
Yeah. And we're going to type dis, D-I-S.
DIS, and
remember
that should be lining up right up with value there too, though. So there's still a space.
Yeah. If you remember,
Between-
DIS is our Pygame display set mode thing, right?
Yep.
So
Mine
this-
lines up with value in yellow because it's cramped a little bit. Nice.
Right.
That's fine.
Nice.
Yeah.
So dis
Again, that's just a visual thing.
dot blit, B-L-I-T.
BLIT. Perfect.
And then open
Look.
brackets. And then we're going to add in, type in value. So our variable we just did, comma. And then square brackets, which is another way in Python of doing like an array or a list.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's common
Excellent.
in a lot of other languages there where they use the square brackets just to kind of say this is different than a parameter, basically. This is actually a
Square
value.
brackets.
Yeah, and then we're going to put in the numbers 0,
Are
comma.
square brackets even numbers? Where are
So
where
the
are
square
the
brackets that
square
are used here,
brackets?
square brackets are right with the curly brackets, right? So you
Oh,
just have to
those
hold
are-
shift to use them, right? It
Oh,
should
yes,
be right
right.
above the enter key next to the letter P on your keyboard, right?
Oh
So
my
you
god.
don't use shift for square brackets. You use shift for the curly brackets.
Oh, whoops, my
Yes.
bad. Yeah.
Yeah, that's because I was looking down. I was looking underneath the characters because it's mostly
Yeah.
so I didn't see it the first
Yeah.
time.
So,
I used to have an
And then-
international keyboard and all the stuff are above. It was so confusing with that.
and
one.
then the second 0 as well. Click.
Oh, okay. So there's 2 zeros there, right?
Yeah.
0, 0. That's
Zero,
the value.
So,
And we want a comma there, right?
yeah, you want to, yeah, exactly. Just as how you have it.
Okay.
So blit is a function which renders an object. So it basically is going to draw something on our screen. In this case, it's going to draw our score, right? So we've set it up using a system font. We've rendered it, the text that we want to do, and finally we're going to draw it using blit. Hagar, what's up?
How do you do like the squarish brackets?
Oh, okay. So if you see,
Right next to the letter P on your
Yes.
keyboard.
Thanks, Cliff. That's the easiest way to do it.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I see it.
Yeah,
Thanks.
no problem.
All right.
I'm just sorry,
Yeah.
but Sam's thing is just a bit behind. Apparently, the keys are slightly messed up.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They might just be. I'm just waiting back for something. I'll try to figure out a solution. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
No worries.
Sorry.
Different keyboard
Uh,
there. Yeah. Okay.
We can, yeah,
No,
it's
same
fine.
keyboard. It's just something weird that happens.
Okay.
Huh.
Okay.
Driver issue? Who
So,
knows?
so
Yeah.
no, so you know what? We can wait it out. It's okay. So I was going to tell you guys that the square brackets in Python are actually the way to do lists in Python. There is technically a difference between a square bracket list and a regular parentheses or bracket list. Basically, in Python, the parentheses one means that it's an unchangeable list. So once we create it, we can never change it. So if you know, if Clifford tried to do something like green equals and reassign the values for green, it won't work. But if he use square brackets to create it, then we can change it. We could add new things to that list, that sort of thing. But right now we can't.
So for green equaling 0, 20, 255, 0, since that's not in square brackets, that's in regular brackets. To change this, I would actually just have to go and just say green equals something else, right? And just
Right.
Yes.
delete the other values that were in there beforehand, right? Whereas these
Yeah.
ones, since they're an array, arrays are basically kind of like variables themselves. So you can go in there and change them.
Yeah. So let's say, for example,
Yes.
so Cliff, we could do this. This is a little bit extra code just to show you guys arrays and give a bit of example.
Extra code.
Oh, come
Oh
on,
man.
You guys don't have to type this. Cliff has to type this. You're typing this.
Oh, I gotta
You
type
guys
it.
aren't typing.
Oh.
All right, Cliff, new line. Come on, new
Typing.
line, new line.
Yeah.
Go back to line. Yeah, get out of the function. So
Yep.
yeah. So
I'm gonna
we'll
type in the
call,
extra
I don't know,
code.
we'll call it array. Let's call the variable array.
Or
Array equals, and square bracket, I don't know, give it some values. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and 4. Cool. And now in the next line, you could do something like array dot and append.
array.
And then if you
Array.
put in to open up regular brackets, because now we're calling a function, and add in the number 5, let's say. Now, if we printed out array, let's say, we won't run this because, you know, we've got other code that'll like,
Array.
but it'll
dot-
print out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right?
Huh.
So that's the
Yeah.
power of arrays. But with like, say the variable green, we couldn't do green dot append because it's an unchangeable array, right?
Yeah, it's just a series of numbers here, values here. They're not actually designated like arrays. Because whenever you make an array, there's a certain part of the program that'll go and it'll set aside specific memory just for this array, and it won't touch that or wherever go to it again, right? But
Mhm.
so with the stuff where when we set up stuff for blue, right? Blue equals this value. It doesn't have to look at that again there too, though. So whenever we use blue and other things, that value is just tied to blue, and it can be moved around within the computer machine itself, right? It's kind of a hard thing to explain. It's just arrays are, since they're supposed to be that you can go in and change them and shape them that too, though, the computer treats them a lot differently there. So a lot more delicately, right? So it can go back and find the values and change them quickly and easily, right? Whereas
Yeah.
with these numbers here, it just needs to keep basically blue, right?
So-
Because blue
Yes.
equals is the same thing as this number, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a weird way to explain it, though. It's just that a lot of the times you'll find that whenever you use arrays in some other programs, like I know in Scratch is a good example, is that when you add stuff into an array in Scratch, it'll keep it there even once you stop the game and start it back up again. And that too,
Yeah.
though. Arrays usually have to be cleared manually because they set up those values somewhere special there, so they can. It's a list. It's a very delicate order of how things are proceeded, right? Because if you went to the array and 2 is become before 1, none of that makes sense. Because this array can be pretty much infinitely long, so you can have like
And it
pretty much
doesn't have
all
to
of
be
these numbers.
right?
1
You
trillion.
could
doesn't
put
have to
all
just
of
be-
these values though into one array,
Yeah.
right? So instead of having white, yellow, black, red, green, you know what I mean? You could have this as the first part of the array, the second part of the array, the third, and it's kind of weird like that you could basically just put all of these values into a huge array. That's usually how most inventories in games work, is that
Mhm.
they'll, you know what I mean, like wherever your grid for like in Minecraft there, all of those things there, those are done in arrays, right?
Now,
Yeah.
with an array, if you want to get a specific value, you could do a square notation, which is a little confusing because Cliff, you have print array and then right after array, so before the closing bracket,
Mm-hmm.
if you open
oh,
up a
sorry.
square bracket,
Another square bracket inside of
Yeah.
print. Yeah.
and let's say you typed in the number 2, let's say.
Oh, sorry to interrupt, but Logan's messaging.
Oh,
Yeah.
But his code is the same that yours has. Okay. So, okay. So why don't we deal with that first, and then I'll continue explaining about. the array.
Yeah. If you got red lines there, then
Yeah. So, are you able to share your screen?
Share his screen.
Yeah. Sam, are you able to share your screen, or Logan?
yeah, I don't exactly know who's the one that's got the
I
So
think
Sam's the one who's getting some red lines.
Oh, okay,
Um,
yeah.
And we're gonna see if can
I
share.
think-
Okay, cool. So he
Yeah.
did.
Look
Yeah.
at
We got
Joe has red line.
score _ font that render. Okay, let's see what do we got. What's the problem here? Sorry, I gotta go back because I scrolled down a bit. Value equals score _ font that render. Your score plus string, comma yellow. That looks correct, right? Oh, you know why? Because lines 33 and 34, Sam, need to be indented. Like they need to. So if you put your cursor at the beginning of line 33, and you type the tab, you hit the tab key on your keyboard. So beginning, and then yes, and for 34 as well. So what that does is it makes sure that those two lines are only part of the your score function, right?
So the reason that we have these spaces before these two values is because those are part of this defined function, right? So whenever you use def, this makes a function. A function is, you know what I mean? There's something there that takes in parameters at the very least, right?
Right, like the sys font or set caption or set
Yeah.
mode, those are all functions that others have created. Now we're creating our own function.
So this function right here, just to declare what's in it there, like we have this right here. This also means, you know, what comes after this, this is going to be part of our function. So the only way that we define what is and isn't in the function is, you know what I mean? Like the spacing here too, though. This
Yeah.
indentation there is basically, like in other coding languages, they use the curly brackets above and below those lines of code.
So guys, lines 36 to 38 aren't actually part of the program. We were just doing it to
Yeah.
explain the idea of arrays versus like arrays in Python. So Logan and Sam, you may have missed that, but an array is basically like a list, right? So
Yeah.
if you use square brackets, it means that we can change the array. So that's how we have like array that append 5, right?
Yeah.
And now it's added to the end. If we use regular brackets like we did for our color variables, it means that it's an unchangeable list. So we cannot do something like yellow.append. We can't add to it. And then the final thing I was just explaining is on line 38, that square bracket notation also is a way to get a specific, what they call element or item in our array, right?
Yeah.
So saying print array without those square brackets just prints the whole array.
Yeah.
Print array square bracket 2 prints the second, well, the third.
The second thing in
element,
the third element in the list there.
because we start counting from 0, if you
The
remember.
first, the first number here, that's actually number 0 in the array.
Right.
That's number 1. This is
And
number
then
2.
Number 2. So
This is
it'll
number
print
3.
out the number 3. If
Yeah.
let's say his array instead of numbers was an array of strings, it will print out the third string.
So this is what. So if you wanted to call the second item or the third item in the array, you would do it as array bracket bracket 2, which would show 2 again. But if 2 was say banana,
No.
it would then array would then print banana, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which
So,
Would that work?
well, no, it wouldn't
Not
work.
sure.
Because banana is,
yeah.
yeah. You
but
have
if
to
he did that, it would work. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he could do banana. And, it would
And
be-
if it was at array 1, it would print 1. If it said 0, it would print 0, right? And if it said 2, it would print banana.
No.
so
And that's just, you know what I mean, how arrays are used. And this isn't a lot of programs too, though. So this is like, even if you don't ever use anything in Python with this here, it still gave you some idea of other coding.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
We can take all of this stuff here that I just typed in there out.
Yeah,
right?
those last 3 lines you can delete it. They're not part of the program, the snake game.
It was
It's
more
just
just explaining
explain-
why we had these weird box
Right.
brackets.
So yeah. So what if you wanted to put a comment before this.blit? What it's doing is it's actually the function that will draw on the screen our value, a variable, which is really a score, and then it's going to give it coordinates where to draw it. So it draws it at 0, 0, which is the top left of the screen. The score. Yeah.
I like to put my comments above the thing I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
helpful to do. A lot of people do that, and it's usually a good convention. Like
I mean,
So
you
you
can
know.
even do it after too, though, where it's like,
you could, but it can be a
Sometimes-
little. Yeah, the other one is beside it, like you've just done for line 32.
yeah.
Sometimes I do it from the side, sometimes
For
I do it from-
functions, I kind of like
Oh.
doing that more just because if, you know what I mean? Like, there's
Well,
no
the
reason.
other thing sometimes people do for functions too is they also put a comment explaining what the parameter is. So that way, you know, like it's more, you know
Because
what.
normally when you have something above it there, it's usually talking about all of the stuff. So when I say some more variables, that's obviously talking about all 3 of these here. Whereas this title one, and this is just a convention there for code reading, right? But you would put it beside it here too, though, since this is only talking about one thing, right?
Do we have to do like the comments or just
No, not
You
at all.
don't have to do any of the comments. I'm putting this in here just to help you
Okay.
guys follow along there.
Or
Yeah,
you can put in your own comments too if you
Yeah.
want.
yeah,
Commenting
I
is
wasn't sure.
yeah. No, that's fine, and that's why
it is a
commenting
good habit
is.
to get into, But again, you don't have to do it, right?
You could
So-
put 0 comments in every code that you do there. You could put a comment with every line of code that you do. It doesn't change the outcome of it there. What it does change is the humans reading it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So let's say, comments, like I said before, can be really helpful. Let's say we started this and then we got busy and we had to come back to it, 2 weeks
Which
later.
happens. Yeah.
We might not
Yeah.
remember what it does, right? So now we can, with a comment, we could understand it better, right?
Yeah. And
like,
some
oh, yeah,
people
this is
don't like doing comments at all in their coding and that too, though. And I always find it frustrating, especially if you're working with other people and are in a team, if you get a job doing it. Sometimes they have certain practices that certain companies work at where they say you have to do your comments like this. You have
Right.
to, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
and when you do your comments, it'll save who worked on that project at that point there too, though, right? So it's kind of like having comments in there sometimes can be a very important thing when it comes to coding, because sometimes that's more important than the code itself, because even if you just have a comment saying there should be some code here that fixes this and it's not there, at least you know where the code should be, right? It's like, even
Yeah.
sometimes when you make a mistake, that's when you need your
Yes.
comment. If everything works perfectly fine, you're good. You won't ever even need to look at the comments, right? But if you go at some point, the font style isn't working, you're like, okay, well, where was the font style? That was one of the first things I worked at. And you're going back looking at the font style, and you're like, oh, right, here it is. We have a comment.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? So you're like,
And
there
I
we go.
remember, so when I was in university, I learned this lesson where I did a whole program and I was too lazy to comment it. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to comment it at the end.
At the
And
end,
then
yeah.
afterward, I didn't want to go back in my program
Yeah.
and understand it all. So I left the comments. And because
I
in
knew
university, I
later.
lost points for not commenting, right? But
Yeah. And a lot of courses in that too, though, will dock you for not doing comments there too. Though, and a lot of jobs too, though, will be like you did up your code, you forgot to put the comment, and it's like some people, it's like your code could be useless at that point, because if it's one
Yes.
part of a bigger program that people are making, right, then it's just
you need to
you know
know
what I mean?
what it does, right?
we don't even know how to put this in together with all the code that everyone else created because you didn't comment it, and no one's going to go through your code trying to figure out what it's supposed to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's like comments are more for when you're working with other people. It's generally the main thing there. So that's why it's like if you didn't comment your own program, that's fine, right? But then when you try to show your teacher or show someone else, and then they're going, I don't know, right?
Yeah, I mean, because think about it. If you're reading someone else's code, sometimes it can be really hard to
Yeah.
understand what it's
That's why
doing.
it can be very important, right? Yeah. So that's why I know you guys are reading it. That's why I don't mind putting in the comments here. So just so
Yeah.
you know, right? And it's just simple stuff here, saying the function to show the score. That's all that does here. I don't need to go too much into detail, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
All
Yeah, my
right.
internet went down for a second. I think it saved.
And that's why there's different ways that people use comments. And I'm like, the easiest way to do the comment is just you put in as least amount of words to say the most that you can. So you go, these are some variables. So at least if you're looking through stuff, you know either to ignore that or maybe you're looking for a variable and it's there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Wait, my REPL.it is glitching out on me.
Well, mine's paused for a second there, but it was just saving it, right?
No, mine kept disconnecting and reconnecting.
So
Yeah, I
if
had
that's
that happen.
happening and you're worried about it saving, one thing you can do is you select all of your text because this is just text and you can copy it. You could even like say paste it into a notepad or something else, right? And that way, if it
Yeah.
doesn't save it, you've got it. Still,
Or I can
right?
just go through the
and you can
REPL
always
history.
you can always export it as well.
yeah.
Oh, that's true. I
It's a
forgot
zip
that you
file.
can do it.
But I don't, that's why I'm like, yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's for the most part it should be okay. But
Yeah.
if you're worried,
REPL is
So-
pretty good at saving things.
how about? So would you guys like to continue and do a little bit more, or how are you guys feeling?
Yeah, I think we're good here. Yeah, great. All right,
Yeah?
let's move
Cool.
forward
All
then.
right.
Wonderful.
So we're gonna define a second function. So we're gonna
Okay.
call it our snake,
Oh, 1 second.
Yep.
It's just loading.
as we just.
Yes,
talked about.
that happened to me, and now it's happening to you.
Yeah.
It happens to me a lot.
They
Yeah.
must be having some problems. So remember with
No, I
Just
think
a
it just
leg.
always does that.
Yeah, it's whenever it's saving and there's like a bit of a glitch, it'll do that.
right. Remember with a second function to make sure that it's not indented, right? It's right up against this, where the rest of the code is, because we don't want it to be part of our first function.
Your cursor should start at the home line, as they call it, right? That's why there's the home key. The home key actually brings you back to the
I forgot
home
about
space. Home space
yeah,
on the
yeah.
line is the beginning space. That's what that's called.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, it does. That's
Yeah.
neat.
Because that's from typewriters, right? So when you start up a typewriter, the spot where the typewriter starts is called home, which is the
right.
furthest
And then
left side.
end brings you to the last, the end of the line.
End is pretty defining.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Um,
Anywhere
yeah,
could be your home. End is always the same place, though.
So we're going to define a new function called our snake, and it's going to take 2 parameters. So our underscore snake, and who raised a hand? Somebody raised a hand. What's up?
Someone raising a hand, or they just
Fluffy.
stretching?
I don't know who Fluffy is.
Fluffy.
Fluffy
Why would-
smiley face.
Oh yeah,
Eh,
Fluffy. And it's like a smiley, like 3 by.
So Fluffy
That's
smiley
the
face.
cat face.
Are you
yeah.
able to
Yeah.
type in the chat?
Annika.
Oh, Annika.
Oh, okay.
Annika, hey Annika. So
Hey.
I don't know if you're able to unmute yourself or type in the chat.
I think it's
But-
Anika, isn't it?
Oh, Anika.
Yeah,
Wait, I'm
Uh,
sorry.
There's 2 N's, that's why.
Anika, yes. But if you can type in the chat or unmute yourself and let us know what's going on. If not, and if you were just playing around with the raise your hand, you can
Yeah.
also lower your hand too. It's a cool function that I don't think a lot of people know that Zoom has.
You go to.
My
Oh,
page reloaded.
You go
and
to
said
like,
there's-
participate.
Oh,
Yeah.
And after
participant.
like you have some options like raise hand, yes,
Mhm.
no, go slower, go faster, and more. And you're like a like a thumbs up and a thumbs out. And there's like a coffee, and there's like a clock, and there's a club.
Yeah. So Anika said that her page reloaded and they said there was an error in line 16.
line
Don't-
16.
The thing is, if you if you
and
can
it's
play
reloading for
screen,
me.
then we can see what line 16 is because it might be different from what Cliff's line 16 is.
Yeah, because it should be
Don't
somewhere
know.
around the variables there.
Yeah.
It might be even Pygame year, right?
It's-
That's why I think.
Page reloading.
I
Hopefully
feel
it
bad
doesn't
now
glitch
because
out
I-
for me.
That's
A
okay.
desynchronized. Oh, dis height.
Oh, okay. So
Should be
this
height equals
height, this
400.
underscore height equals 400.
Yeah.
I think
What
for
do you have for your line?
Yeah.
Jane?
mine's still not connecting.
I'm
Oh.
trying to think
Oh,
of
really?
how.
It's like it's a like
Um,
when I was talking it went down and it's like in a reload loop.
So
Oh, never mind.
Miller,
It just connected.
one thing you could do if it keeps happening is copy a code so that you don't lose it. And then
Oh,
just
you're not going to
close the
lose your
browser.
code there. It's just a latency when it,
Okay.
it automatically saves there. So if it doesn't automatically save, it there's
Because I was gonna say you could close your browser and open it up again, like basically go back to the page anew.
Yeah.
Right, and see.
it just happened. It's
Anika,
an internet connection thing. That's
Yeah, it
Nothing-
just reconnected.
It's not going to delete all your code there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I wasn't sure only because if it's saving on this server, their servers, and let's say there was an internet issue in the
Then
page,
you still have the backups from the other saves.
and Hagar, what's up? You raised your
So,
hand?
my screen, it was like the window when we did like the window, it was gray, and now it's like black. I don't know what happened, but it's black now.
Oh, the screen on the right there. Yeah, we haven't gotten to making that show anything that fancy there. So yeah, don't take
Yeah.
too much value on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the
Because
reason
it
it
was
shows
like
black
gray, and I
is
wasn't sure if I deleted something or.
No,
no, no,
hopefully,
it-
don't
it-
delete anything. What do you do? Are you deleting stuff in there, Hager?
No. I
Are
don't.
you? Okay. Well,
the reason it shows black is because we ran it, but
Yeah.
then now it's got nothing else to show.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Okay.
it's
Big
just
blank
black. Blank screen. So
Link
Anika,
screen of death.
we're gonna move on unless you're able to tell us what is going on with line.
or at the very least, copy and paste.
Yeah, copy and paste the line if it's still given the red stuff.
Yeah, or a couple of the lines that are around that there. Yeah, the spots that are.
Yeah.
Oh wait, should it be like a black screen or like a whitish gray screen?
Should be like a gray with like the hints of red in it there. It should be like a gray at the top, black in the middle, gray at the bottom. At least that's what I have. If you guys don't have this, then you guys are all wrong.
Mine is sometimes for me. Sometimes it ends with a black screen, but
Should be
sometimes
gray on
it,
both sides and
sometimes,
black
like,
in the middle.
sometimes it stays
Wait,
with
mine
the
is not
white
black in the
screen.
middle.
Sometimes
It's
the
like on
white
the white.
screen.
White in the middle.
Mine's
Yeah.
gray on
Yeah.
the edges
Me,
and
it's
white in the
white,
middle.
like a white
My thing right now. Oh yeah, look,
gray in
it's
the
like
middle.
purple. in
Yeah,
the
I
middle.
have that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It
If you got
changes,
that,
like,
if you got
changes
this, then that
everything.
means your code is wrong, and
No,
it's just.
it just means the pie game doesn't know what to do, so don't worry about it.
Well,
Yeah.
technically, it is wrong because we haven't finished.
It's
So.
not showing the pie game screen in the corner. When you run it,
Wait,
Yeah.
did you choose?
right, that is true, Sunset Clifford.
The
That-
code
Yeah.
the code is broken because it's not finished. So if
Yes.
we're halfway
So-
through defining our snake here, and because we're defining a function, we have to use a full colon after that, right?
Yes, and actually we have to
Yeah.
add a couple of parameters.
Oh, so
Do
we're
our
still
function.
doing stuff inside the brackets. That's why I
Yes.
didn't have a full colon there. Okay, my bad.
So we're gonna add in a parameter called snake block, and then comma snake list.
I
These are
didn't know they
not the
had.
same as the other snake block that we did up, right?
No, well, I mean it's the same name, but no, you can still call it snake underscore block. It's okay. It'll still work. And then snake underscore list.
Snake underscore.
They
I don't have.
use
Oh, I accidentally
and-
spelled snack instead of steak.
And then colon,
Snake.
yeah.
Yeah.
Snake underscore.
oh, and then the
So,
full colon,
the
and then we'll go to
reason-
the inside.
So
the
guys,
function.
the reason that'll still work is because in programming there's this concept of, how do I explain scope? Basically the idea that in the second snake block is something that only will exist in our function, our snake, right? So it's, yes, we're using the same variable name, but it's not the same variable as what we have on
It's
line
just
24.
used within the our snake inside that function there, and it's not used outside the function. The
Yeah, so
functions are
it's
kind of
like
like little
on-
pocket dimensions, is the way I like to look at them. Where
Yeah.
they're just like, you know what I mean? It's like your own world you teleport to.
Exactly.
It's inside of another world, but it doesn't react. There's no.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, our snake will have
It's kind of
access-
like the Nether, right? Where it's like
Yeah.
everything that goes on inside of here. You know what I mean? It affects the things outside of it there, but like honestly, it's its own lower part of it, right? The
Right.
world.
So like our snake or any function will have access to all the what's called global variables, the stuff we defined outside, right? Like you
Yeah.
see your score, that function has access to score font, right? But anything we create inside the function will only be in the function. So value is only available in the function your score. We cannot use value outside of your score. The your
Oh,
score.
okay. Yeah. So right here
Right?
where we have value, this is inside of the little your score pocket dimension.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's really why they're doing the same thing for our snake. They're using the same name, variable name, which is
Yeah.
confusing, but it's really just a different variable.
I think everyone understands pocket dimensions. We've all seen Endgame.
I
right?
haven't, but yeah, I know what
You
mean.
haven't
I
seen.
saw it.
Well,
I
at least
saw
see Doctor
Endgame.
Strange, so you can check out what
Yeah.
the mirror dimension
The
is.
ending was good. Mhm.
I've seen Doctor Who.
Dormammu,
you know,
I've come to negotiate.
I've seen Doctor Who, and I've read
Yeah.
Hitchhiker's
Okay.
Guide and stuff like that. I know what fucking dimensions.
Doctor Who's kind of like that. It's kind of like, yeah, that's like a beginner's guide to like sci-fi, right? Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
Wait till you get to Endgame. So much better.
Okay.
Oh no, like honestly, I saw both those
Oh
movies.
no, sorry, I did see Endgame. I thought you were talking about Ender's Game or whatever. that-
Oh no. We're
Sorry,
talking
I
about the
know. I
time
saw
heist.
Endgame.
Yeah.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
the what's that? The pocket dimension that Ant-Man goes into there. The
Yeah.
Yeah. When when you shrink like
Yeah.
so down that you become one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
where he
Plus
can
level.
go into that dimension, but they're like, oh, you can't come back. It's generally
Right.
the idea. You're not supposed to be able to come back from pocket dimensions, right? But
Look at that. We talk about like,
yeah, that's the way coding works.
Yes.
That's why I love coding. Okay. Yeah. Anyway,
Because coding.
so what's
it-
inside of our
Yes.
function, our snake?
right. Okay, so we're gonna put in a for loop. So for x in snake list, and then colon.
Oh, whoopsie! I forgot.
I mean
the
snake
underscore.
underscore list.
Yeah, snake underscore
You
list.
already started calling them underscores. You got to continue it now.
Right. Okay. Snake
Yes.
underscore list, and then colon, and then next line. So now your next line should be indented twice, and then we're gonna type pygame dot draw dot rect rect, like rectangle, but the first part of it, and then open the brackets, and we've got a few different, we've got about 5 or 6 variables to put in, okay, or parameters. So the first one is dis, D-I-S, comma, then black, comma, then, actually, then the rest of them are actually going to be in square brackets. So open up a square bracket, and then type X, and then open up another square bracket. No, square bracket, and beside X, right beside X.
I accidentally did curly.
And the
Another
number 0.
square brackets.
And then outside of that, so close the square bracket, and then put a comma, and then x1, so x and then square bracket 1, and then comma, and then snake underscore block, and then comma.
That's a lot of commas.
That is a lot of commas. I'll explain in a second. And then snake underscore block, and that is it. And the reason for all of that is because I'm gonna look up the rect. It's basically drawing a rectangle, okay? And
So it will probably be like the background. No, that'll probably be our snake itself, won't it? Oh wait, I put snake block twice there. Was that supposed to be block?
yeah, it is supposed to be snake block twice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so this is
Interesting.
drawing the rectangle for our snake, for each you know, as our snake grows longer, right? Each portion of our snake.
Yeah.
And what happens is that basically the parameters we're passing, and it's quite a few. We pass in the thing we're drawing on, which is this display.
Is there peak definition? Oh, there's no
I don't know if
definition.
there will be.
Yeah.
I can actually, if you want, Cliff, if you want to go.
You know what? It's probably part of a function of draw.
Yeah, if you want to click on the Zoom chat, I just pasted the Pygame documentation.
Yeah.
Correct. You'll see here. I mean, it's a little confusing, but if you look at the top, right, we have surface, color.
Yeah. So this is the thing that you want to look for. Most of the times, whenever you look up stuff in the game there, a lot of it will be parameters there, because most of the things that you'll call inside of your code, and this is for most languages, you'll have to stuff in some parameters, and you don't always know what they're looking for with the parameters, right? This is one of those examples. So that's why it's like the surface, you know, how big it's going to be drawing. So we did a display, right? So that's the full size of the screen right there. And then what color it's going to be, black, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then this is actually getting into drawing the rectangle stuff here after that.
If you
And that's
click on
why
rect,
we have
if you
these.
go back to that, Cliff.
Yeah.
And click on rect, the underscore one. Capital
Oh, this
R.
one? Yeah.
Yeah. You'll see it tells us how you're supposed to define rect, like a rectangle in Pygame. That's cryptic.
So it goes from top left to the top of the left side, the top of it, the width and the height.
Right, and that's how we're
Left
drawing a
top.
rectangle.
Some
in
people
Pygame.
do rectangles differently in other programs. I've seen them where they do the top left corner and the bottom right corner, and that's it.
Right, and that's, to me, that's the more natural one, but this is how they do it.
Where
So-
this one is saying the top of the rectangle and the left side of the rectangle, so it's not actually going for the corners. So basically, if you have those things and you know the width and the height, then you can, you know what I mean, draw out a rectangle, right?
does that make sense to everyone, or is there any confusion? Edgar, you
Yeah.
have your hand raised.
It is confusion, but it's just, you know,
What's up, Hagar? You have your hand raised? Oh, you're good? Cool.
yeah. So this
Oh,
is
yeah,
the top of the
Okay.
rectangle. This
Nice.
is the left side of the rectangle, and then this is the height and width, which is the snake block, right? So that's
Yeah.
how
Exactly.
fat our snake is.
So,
You know what I
so
mean?
right now, I mean, we don't know what snake list is, but we can kind of tell it looks like it's going to probably store some values, right? Like where our snake is, you know?
Yeah.
So that's why
Yeah.
we're going through it for X and
Well,
snake.
this is for our snake, so it's going to be looking at this is it literally drawing our snake, right?
Right, so this is a function
Yeah.
of our snake, exactly.
Yeah. And
And
as
now we can tell what snake block means. It's a variable we created, right? And it looks like it's going to basically set the size of each block.
is
of our
that
snake.
supposed to be X here twice? They're are you
Yes.
sure about that one? Okay, yeah.
Yes,
all
the
right.
reason
I'm
is
running the
because
program.
the reason is because remember we loop through for X
Well,
and
what-
snake list, right?
Oh, okay.
So from X, we're taking our coordinates 0
Yeah.
and 1.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And
Okay.
yeah, right.
So
if
there's
you,
a snake list here because there's obviously going to be more chain to the snake. So this is like one little block of its body, and there's be multiple blocks, right?
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And the snake block is the size basically of each
Yeah.
block of a snake.
That's why it's the same thing here because this is not actually a rectangle. We tricked you. It's a square.
Da da da.
Anyways,
Well,
that was
no,
my
no,
best
no,
attempt
hold
at a
on.
joke.
Hold on, all squares are
Oh, it's just
rectangles,
like
but not all
reset
rectangles
and
are
didn't
squares.
save some of the stuff that I did.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Custom red line.
Yeah, but that's just the latest things that you did, right?
Yeah,
So
it's not too
sometimes
much.
you guys hit code there accidentally
Well,
getting.
it just flickered and then it just did the reload thing that
Yeah.
Miller was talking about. And yeah.
I have some green lines and red lines.
okay. If you have green lines, don't worry about it. If you have red lines, then yes, let's worry about it.
Then totally worry about it.
Yeah, freak
Oh.
out.
Panic attack.
Freak out, no!
So is that on
what do you
line
have red lines
58
on?
for you or line 36?
What's your red line on?
So I didn't. So I will just share my screen.
Yeah, yeah. If you share your screen or just copy and paste
Way
it.
easier.
Yeah.
Um, okay, share. So
Let's see.
I got the red line right here.
Okay, the reason is that you have to indent line 31. So right now, because you didn't indent line 31, it's not part of the your score function. So if you put your cursor at the beginning of line 31,
Annika also has a red line.
and then type the tab key, hit the tab key,
The what?
tab beside Q,
Okay.
the TAB.
Tab. Okay.
Yeah,
Is that,
there you go. See,
that's
so
it?
now it's part of the your score function, and so you're
Okay.
good. So
Yeah.
you're
Now there's no green lines too.
all right. Nice. And Anika, what's the red line that you have? Yes. Can you
Yeah.
select
If
it?
you paste it, and if you guys like, if you're having like say an error on like one line here, if you want to copy and paste like the code before and after it there too, though, and just copy and paste.
Yeah,
it.
because
Yeah.
we are
Hopefully
dealing
we
with
should be
text,
able
so
to
you can copy and paste it easily.
Yeah, we hopefully we'll be able to dissect it there to find out what's wrong with it, right?
It's not like in Scratch when you're having a problem and you're like,
You have to share your
no.
screen to show
yeah,
it.
you have to
Yeah.
clear your
right?
screen because you're like, I can't
Yeah.
copy blocks.
And that's kind of why it's a bit nicer to work with the actual code like this too, though, because it's a text file, right? You could text message someone your code and just be like, upload this to the server.
Yeah.
Right.
You could
Mhm.
you could actually just
Oh,
take a screenshot of the blocks and then send it
Yeah,
into
you
the
can share
Zoom
your screen,
chat.
of course, Anika. Go for it. And because this is text too, if you copied and pasted this into a notepad or Word, it wouldn't have all these colors. The colors are what REPL is doing, right?
Yeah.
But it's just straight text that we're really using.
Oh yeah, and I can share the screen.
Oh, cool. All right.
Or
Let's
her screen.
So where's the for snake? Okay, so you're having the same problem. Your for loop 35 and 36 need to be indented. You need to use that tab key.
Yeah.
If
So this
you-
is where you can, and it might be hard to see because it's like a light gray line right
and
here.
the other thing you need to also do is, so first thing you're gonna do, Anika, is put your cursor at the end of line 34 and type in colon. Yeah, and then put your cursor at the beginning of line 35 and hit the tab key. Beside the Q key. Yeah, and then put your cursor at the beginning of line 36. No,
Huh?
you want to click
Oh.
on the little plus.
He minus.
Anika,
the-
before you do that, click on the little plus. Yeah, there you go. Okay, now put your cursor at the beginning of line 36 and hit that tab key 2 times.
See, in the States, tab is a type of soda pop. So,
Huh?
yeah,
Mm.
so that's
And
why.
hit the tab key 2 times. There you go. All right, now you have a for loop with 1 line of code in it, and that for loop is inside our snake function.
Mhm.
So yeah, so that's one thing that we got to keep remembering, guys, and we'll keep helping everyone out with this.
Yeah.
But indents do make a difference, a big difference in Python.
It defines your pocket dimensions there. So this is a
Yes.
dimension inside of a dimension here, right?
Endgame.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Because otherwise, Python has no way of knowing that what the code that is supposed to be inside our pocket dimensions or for loops or anything is, right?
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
and that's why it's like they are separate from each other, even though they're within each other, which is kind of a weird thing when you think of there. But yeah.
So Logan and Sam, how are you guys doing? Logan O and Sam. Logan
Wonderful.
W,
Okay.
how are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Okay.
Cool. Good job, guys.
Annika still had an error on share screen, I think.
Did you?
Oh, never mind. I thought
You-
it was. Oh no. Wait.
Oh, Miller, you're dropping the ball in this
I'm
one.
so confused.
That's okay. No worries. You know what? Sometimes Zoom takes a bit to update, like,
Yeah.
when sharing screens. So sometimes that's it.
It does that so it doesn't lag out your computer. Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically. So, okay, I guess we have time to add in one more function.
Please.
Hooray.
So,
More
yay.
functions.
All right, so we're going to add in another function. So remember,
So is this
again,
function? So this is the end of the function that will draw our snake. This is it for it, right?
yes, that's the.
We go
that's-
back to the
that's only
home
function.
the home line, right? The home.
Yes.
Yeah,
We
okay.
go back to the home line, yeah. And we're going to call a function message. And it's going to also take two parameters. So we'll type in def message.
Am I typing message right? I always afraid
Yeah.
I'm spelling it
Yeah,
massage.
no, that's correct.
Okay.
And now, okay, so this is going to get a bit confusing because you use message in 3 different spellings for 3 different things. So then we're going to type in MSG and comma and then color. And those.
Call it
that's
the
it.
American way.
That's it. We just have 2 parameters.
Oh, that's weird for hearing 3. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, did I say 3? I'm sorry. I meant
Yeah,
2. If I
No
did.
problem. Okay.
And then, yeah, colon. And so now remember to make sure that you have an indent, right? If you online the next line. And then we're going to type in MESG equals font underscore style. So we're going to use that font that we created before, dot render. So again, we're going to render something to it. And in brackets, we're going to put in MSG, so the parameter we're taking in, comma, the word true, the keyword true, so capital.
Capital T true.
Yeah, thank you. And then comma, and then color. So that's the
Okay.
color that we're going to
MSG dash.
That's how they
true.
spell color too, though. This is why I spell color the American way. It is because a lot of coding is done with American text, and really
Yes.
the only thing that Americanizes all of the coding programming is the word color, and it comes up a lot there because
no,
you have to.
also in HTML
Maybe?
it says also the keyword gray for the colored gray.
Yeah, but HTML isn't a coding language, so that's
Oh yes, that is
Wait, HTML isn't a coding language?
it's a language, but it's not a code. Well, you're not doing code.
Technically, okay, depends on who you're talking to.
Ah.
Technically, it's not considered a coding language. In
Because coding languages have to be compiled to be ran. So this won't run
Oh,
by
true.
itself. You have to then make it into like an exe or something like that to compile the code. Whereas web pages, they're already code as soon as you write them. They don't.
Yeah,
have-
it's like a TXT file.
yeah, the compiling thing there that makes something into a .exe. That's the code part of it all there too, though, because it, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
It encrypts it basically, right?
yeah. Technically, HTML is a file format.
Yeah. That's why it's like, trust me, it's more of a programmer joke there. I've seen people talk about that going like, okay, so this isn't a coding language, but we're going to talk about HTML, right?
Yes.
Okay, anyways.
Oh yeah, so I actually looked up one of the programming jokes, and I want to show you guys.
Okay.
Programming jokes are like they're like
No,
make
they're-
dad
they're
jokes look
so-
funny.
They're so
specifically for-
dirty. Not dirty. They're so
Oh,
nerdy.
sorry,
I
wrong
meant
one.
to say.
Don't type on that one. Type this one.
I meant to say
So
nerdy.
go to this one, Cliff. The second link. So that's the one. I thought of.
Yes.
I thought
So that's kind of where this joke comes from, though, is
He
that people are
won't
like,
think-
HTML isn't a programming language, right?
People
Yeah.
think HTML.
Yeah,
but
that's-
anyway, okay. Yeah.
because and the real fact of it though is because HTML is both
Uh.
HTML and CSS and JavaScript there. So it's actually when you see web pages there, they can run a whole bunch of stuff there. HTML can be whatever you want. You could have something going entirely in Python that will generate your web page. So there's no HTML language in there except for the Python that you wrote.
Yeah. I mean, because HTML technically it's called a markup language. You're basically just saying this text. is a
That's
heading.
what the
This
ML
text
part
is a
of.
paragraph. Yes.
Yeah,
exactly, Right.
Technically,
So-
HTML is a hypertext markup language.
Yeah,
That's
you're
as
not
opposed to a programming coder
programming.
language.
I got
Yeah,
one little
putting
red
it in
line.
logic.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Hagar?
I got one little red line.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
Logan. Okay, you got a red line. Are you able to share your screen, or can you tell us
Let
Like,
me
Wait, is
try.
this
copy and paste?
MSG True Color?
Sharing?
This is weird. On mine, it says on the last line, the MESG. Yours has all the green line and stuff, saying it's like.
Yeah,
Like, mine has no
Oh,
line at all
So
on the
the
bottom.
reason you have that, Logan, is because you don't have a colon. So we always need to at the end of line 43.
Full colon.
Yeah, a full colon. You notice how at the end of line 37
Yeah,
you have a
forget
colon,
no.
but
Yeah.
at the end of line 43 or 41 or whatever, 41. I'm sorry, I'm reading you wrong line numbers. So at the end of line 41, you need a colon.
Hmm.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, okay. Now I have green.
Now you have the beautiful green line instead.
Hooray!
Which
For
is
some
really
reason, I don't have any line at all underneath.
Really?
Underneath mine. Yeah, it's there's no error line, there's no green line. It's just
That's
text.
really weird.
Oh.
Uh,
I'm gonna stop
because you're
sharing.
not using message yet.
Thanks.
But oh well, that's okay. Right. So this is a little confusing, guys, with the message stuff. But really, they're using like the message. The full word is the name of a function. MSG is the name of a parameter, and MESG is the name of a variable inside our function.
So what is this function for the message there? Is this for
to
sending?
draw a message, any message that we
Oh,
going
okay.
to give it, basically.
Just wanted to include that
So
with
it's a
my
message to the player. Yeah.
function for drawing messages for the player. Yeah.
Yeah. So then the last thing we need to do inside a function.
You could have some
is-
functions that'll set up messages, but only to the programmer there. So it's more
That
of
is
like
true.
if something didn't go right with your program, you have a little message that'll tell the dev, but the player will never see that message, right?
That's
So
true.
you'll
Like
see
a lot of
something.
people do that for errors,
Mhm.
right? Like they'll have some sort of code in there. That'll
My
catch
favorite one
errors.
is like, you should not see this message. Like if everything goes good, you
Yes.
should-
Yeah,
so that's-
Super Mario did that.
Yeah,
in
it's-
the Japan only.
yeah, and that's part of it because the programmers there in Japan, or even the people that translated it there too, because a lot of programmers go into video games. Some of it used to be to translate Mario from Japanese to English, right? You would have to have other people go in there and change all the messages, actually program it. Nowadays,
Yes.
you can do it without programming, right? But it's like,
Right.
yeah, so that's
So-
sometimes where they would put that, as opposed to the Japanese message, which translates, to you should not see this message.
Yes.
So so if you remember with the your score, after doing this font stuff, we had to use Blit to actually draw it. So we're
Mhm.
gonna do the same thing here. We're gonna, for the next line, inside message function.
Still inside of the function message.
Yeah, this dot Blit, and we're gonna give it the MESG as our first parameter. So open up brackets. So that's MESG, not MSG.
And yes.
Yep, because
Yes.
that's the font message that we're going to do.
Yes.
And then to specify the position, we're going to open up a square bracket,
Yes. Okay.
and we're going to type in this underscore width divided by 6, comma, this underscore height divided by 3.
This underscore height.
Divided by 3.
Mhm.
So, basically they're just specifying the position of where we're going to put whatever message. Whenever we call this function, whatever message we want to give to write to the player, this is where we're going to place it.
So if we said dis width, that would be on the very right-hand side of the screen. So then if we
Right.
divide it by 6, it'll make it on the first sixth of the screen there.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
And then the height will be on the first third of the height.
yeah.
So-
And that's where it'll start writing the message there on this 1/6 into the
Yeah,
screen there.
and that's the thing, right? It'll start writing it there.
Yeah. So if our
so-
screen was 600 wide, like 600 pixels wide, it would start writing it at 100 pixels in there, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So. Okay,
But that's
so
but as the screen changes shape there too, though, the divided by 6 there. So if our screen was only 100 pixels wide, then it would still, you know what I mean? It wouldn't start writing it at 100 pixels there. It'd be writing it at whatever 1 divided by 6 is.
yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think like 15, right? Something around there. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
divided by 6.
So our next function we're going to do, but we won't get into it probably here because it's a lot, is a game loop function. So we're gonna.
So the
use
game
it-
loop function is like the main part of there too, though, where it keeps on going through that to render the game constantly. right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just as it says, we'll be basically putting a loop in there to
Mm.
actually do all the drawing over and over again, right? Based on things.
So.
So if you want, you could do that. You could type in def game loop.
Yeah, might as well. I think that, you know what I mean? We got some time here just to go through a bit of it, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
This will be
So-
kind of like so this is setting up everything. We have all of our variables, and this is normally how most games go. You know what I mean? We start off by importing all of the library stuff that we're going to code with.
Yeah.
This is basically starting all of that stuff there too, though. So this usually happens before the actual programming. This is actually starting up the program in the code word. So that usually the first thing you do after that, you declare your variables. This is what we did in great detail, right?
Yeah.
And that's like all the way down to here. These are all the variables. Then after that, now you have all the variables. You do up some of the functions because the functions are the more complicated code that we're going to be calling over and over and over again. Every time you see where one of these functions are, we could just copy and paste in like pretty much all this stuff here. And that's pretty much what that means, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right?
So now that we got the groundwork they established here, this is the foundation for it. And we
Yeah.
can-
So now we're gonna type in def space game loop,
Okay.
and game loop you can spell it how you want. Yeah, like that, or put an underscore in between, whatever you want. As long as you when you call it, as long as you use the same name, right? And we're not gonna have any parameters for it. So you just and then colon.
That's what's called a closed loop, right? An open loop is going to have something in there, right?
Yes.
But when you do a closed bracket there, that's just, you know what I mean? You're just putting that in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And okay, so the first thing we're gonna do, and we probably have time for this, is we're gonna create. Oh, someone had a.
Well, no, this is a Clifford thing. What did I press?
You pressed
F12.
F12.
Yeah.
Oh, did I? Is that
Yeah.
what that is? Okay.
Huh, I didn't know. That's weird how it minimizes the entire.
It
Yeah, it's
did it
really
weird on mine, I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Anyway,
Like it makes like that thing go on.
it shows the code behind the screen, and this is a coding. So the code for this page has code. Oh gosh, too many.
Yeah, it's really kind of meta, but
Pocket
F12
dimensions.
Basically,
Yes,
shows you
pocket
the code for any website, right?
Code.
Yes. The game already. All right. So the first thing we're gonna do is game loop. Is we're going to create 7 variables and 1 empty array. Okay. So we're gonna create a variable called game_over, and we're gonna give it the initial value of false, capital F false. So capital F false. Yeah, there we go. Then we're gonna create a variable called game_close, and we're gonna also give it the initial value of capital F false. Right, and then we're gonna create a variable called x1, let the x and then the number 1, and it equals this_width divided by 2. No, this, dis, not this. A variable this width. Yes.
Sorry, you always talk like that, so it's kind of hard.
I do not always.
tell
talk
your
to you.
slang. You're like, oh, what's going on, guys? This is how it is, right?
Fine. Divided by 2, not just this width. We want this width divided by 2. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I see that happen a lot there too, though, because a lot of times when you need something right in the middle of the screen there, you'll take the width of the screen divided by 2.
Right.
there.
And
So
then-
instead of doing that over and over again, you just have one little thing.
Possible that you're on line 40. 8 and I'm in line 42.
Oh, okay. So
Nice.
not that far behind.
I'm on line. Well, that's just because I'm adding spaces. I'm on line 58.
Yeah, there you
Right.
go.
I
Right.
mean, if you put
Spaces, okay. 'Cause
There's
I was
even I've even seen tools that,
on 1 and it's just
Well,
Yeah.
like
You're just going
new
down, yeah.
lines. I'm adding like gaps.
if you put in
between
an extra
every
line in
new
between
line.
every single line, you'll be really far down. But
yeah.
it doesn't matter either way, right?
Yeah.
But that's why I've seen that there's like two types of styles of coding that too. They call it the minimalist one, where you try to push everything together with as least amount of space as possible, and then there's the beautify version of it there, where you open it up, tons of spaces everywhere, right? Every
Yeah.
comment there would be like another space here. Like I could do that.
Yeah,
there
that's
too.
what I did. That's what I did.
Yeah,
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 so-
and that's called the beautifying of the code. There, it doesn't make it more readable. It doesn't make it more functional. It just kind of just aesthetically looks better, right?
Yeah.
For me, it makes it more readable to have that.
Yeah,
I
me
try to
too.
go
Yeah,
somewhere.
yeah,
For me, it does
too.
too.
Yeah, I
But
try
it
to go
depends,
somewhere in
right?
between that, right? Where I don't need
Mm.
empty spaces there, but I can put a comment where there should be an empty space.
we have 8 minutes.
Yeah, so that's okay. We'll add a couple more.
Yeah, let's
Uh,
finish up doing this here, so that we have all this done here for tomorrow.
Right. So okay. So
Yes.
the next thing we'll do is y1 equals this underscore height divided by 2.
Y1 equals this underscore height
Divided by 2.
slash 2. Yeah.
And
or
then
divide
we'll
or
call
slash
we'll
2.
create a variable called x1 underscore change,
X1 underscore change.
and we'll set it to 0. And then we'll create a variable called y1 underscore change and set it to 0. And then we'll create a variable called snake underscore list. Actually, it's not, well, it'll be an array. So we'll create it an empty array. So just equals and then the 2, no, so we're gonna equal and then the 2 brackets like that. Yeah. So basically
Yeah.
it's a variable, but it's an array, but it has nothing in it. It's just,
And again, when it comes to declaring arrays, those are special because it's like the computer does treat arrays differently there because
yes.
they're supposed to be as big as need to be. So it will give it room to breathe or to grow. Like it's kind of
Exactly,
weird.
Exactly.
There's a very
eventually, you can still eventually run out of memory. Like sometimes I'm sure you've seen
Yep.
out of memory issues in programs, but yeah.
Yeah.
whenever you see a program crash or something like that, or it gets really laggy and stuff like that, there's a good chance that a list somewhere is being used, especially when you have like if you're in Roblox there and you have a bunch of the physics pieces falling to each other there, they'll slow down, you'll find a lot of the times, because if you still get them falling at the same speed there and they're all bumping into each other, it'll crash most people's computers, right?
So
Yes.
the last variable we're gonna create is length of snake. And they do length
Okay.
underscore of underscore snake, but you can spell it however you want.
Length
Equals 1.
underscore of underscore snake.
Did I spell length right?
Yeah, you did.
Okay, because it's
Think
always
so.
hard there because that silent G.
I know it is hard. So yeah, with the arrays, it's interesting because some language like Python is a pretty good language in that it automatically keeps track of the memory issues for
Yeah.
it.
Some actual languages are better with lists than others there. So Python might not
Right.
actually treat lists as specially though. It's just that's something you learn in a lot of coding languages there. When you deal with lists, there's a reason why they put those square brackets there and not with anything else, because they're trying to say to the user, like to us going like, just so you know, it's an array. They're kind of like because
But,
if you
there's some
have part of
languages-
your code adding stuff to that list and just constantly adding to it, since it can go infinitely there, you could then just basically have something in your code there that just tries to fill up your entire computer. You can't do that with other variables, but lists technically could just keep on going until there's no memory left on your computer in the whole game. Everything just crashes, right?
Exactly.
It's hard to tell exactly what's going to happen. And that could be just, what I mean, if something goes weird, right? You'll always have some guy playing your game there trying to break it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Though,
Yeah,
well,
so-
like
so we'll stop.
speedrunners do that.
Yeah, if
all
you
the
watch
time.
speedrunners there, a lot of speedrunners
Mhm.
will do that where they have a thing in like the first Zelda game where if you type in a very specific name into your code, fill up your inventory or whatever, go to a certain spot, it'll change the level, right? Because they're basically going into the lists there and then forcing them to go to some other place, right?
Yeah.
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 So we'll stop it here for now.
Yeah.
Because it's a good place. If you run it, it won't do anything because and Clifford, you are running apparently. That's why the stop is up above. So but it won't do anything
Da-da-da.
because there's like nothing.
So again, if
to
you
do.
guys aren't showing the screen here, then all your code is wrong, right? Well, it's at the very least incomplete. Oh, so
Yeah.
none of you should have complete code because we haven't finished it. So I'm just
Yes.
See, at the end, if you notice Cliff's at the bottom on his command line, it says exited, terminated.
Yeah.
Right in red because it
It was
ran.
like,
everything.
nope, nothing.
That was
I'm
it.
done. I'm out of here. Yeah.
Yeah. Goodbye.
And even the actually technically even his functions wouldn't have run because we've actually never called them, right? We've
Yeah.
just defined them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have all the function. We have all.
So all that would happen is that there'd be a whole bunch of variables in the background here. So you'd have like a game over equal false. That's the most that our game
Yes.
has done.
Yeah, exactly.
These aren't these
So,
pocket dimension.
How was that, everybody? That was quite a bit.
Yeah.
It was fun.
This is more just getting into the swing of it. There, yesterday was
Fun, yeah.
just was
Yeah, you
the,
said it was just fun things like.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly, right? So, Ashton, one thing I was going to mention when we talked about arrays too was, how at the beginning you were showing your thing and you have a lot of, responses, right? Depending on what people type. You could
I
use
could put them
arrays
in
for that,
arrays.
right? And that way it
Yeah.
becomes a little easier to keep track of it all together, and then you just use a square notation to decide which particular element to use, right? Which
Yeah.
string.
Uh-huh.
You could have it starting off there where you have like one variable that's like responses and then do a square bracket and then just have it say like every response with a comma after it sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then it'll make it 0 1 2 3 4. So then eventually you get to a spot and you'll just say response with square
Yeah.
brackets, and then 5 will make it say the fifth thing sixth thing in your array, right? Your list. And it's kind of nice there because it makes your code look a lot simpler and cleaner, and you just have everything dumped into one thing, right?
And if you're doing something like that and you put in a lot of elements, that's where you can also, after the commas, put in an enter, and then it won't matter, right? Like, Cliff, I don't know if you want to demonstrate that, but if you did something like array equals open square bracket, and then hit enter a couple of times. Open square bracket, hit enter a couple of times. Okay, and then on the first line, like 56, for example, tab in. So you had to tab in, and then do something like hi in quotes,
Hooray.
and then comma, and then on line 57, do something like bye, and then comma, and then on line 58, you put whatever else you want.
Have a great rest of your day.
You should not.
See the hi bye. You should not see this.
So I mean, this one, because there's only 3, it's not a big deal. Like, we could put it all on the same line, but this is a good way too of like, it's all the program won't care, but this is a good way of breaking things up for you as a programmer if you have of responses, right, that you're putting in. So wait, so let's run this and see what happens when it prints array 2.
Hooray. Bye.
You should not see this. Oh, that's what it should print, but it's not going. Okay.
Well, it's gonna run through everything first.
Oh yeah, well it should be somewhere in here, right?
No,
Zero.
it's probably at the end, I think. Is it at the end? Oh,
Uh-huh,
it still
it's
isn't
at the
finished, is it? It hasn't
Yeah, there might be just so much
Bum,
other
bum, bum, bum.
junk going on there that it just can't.
been through. All right,
Yeah,
but anyway.
the game crashes before it even gets to it.
Yeah, you're right. It does. Oh my god.
Mwah, mwah, mwah.
We have. Okay.
Oh, there we go. If I put it at the
There you
beginning of my
go.
code, you
Okay,
should
guys,
not
so
see
it's
this.
4 o'clock.
Yeah.
So I hope you had fun, and we will see you tomorrow. We'll continue.
Wait,
this.
mine just actually.
Yep.
And again, it's showing the
Got a
third thing in my array there
question.
because I put in the number 2, so the
Yeah.
third thing is 2.
Mine just crashes right away.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like,
Well, yeah.
I run in and just.
Yay. So we'll
Yeah.
continue
Oh,
this.
well, I put it
tomorrow.
underneath pygame.init, so that's why like
Wait.
technically the code doesn't start until after.
Is this actually
Right.
working now?
All right. Anyways, yeah.
You guys. So yeah,
If
we'll
you-
continue
I
this
don't
tomorrow, and we'll do a little some other stuff tomorrow as well.
I hate adding in other
Okay.
examples into
Okay,
this
bye.
code here because
I know, but that's
Yeah.
why you could create another REPL if you wanted. But yeah.
that's why it's
Okay,
like
guys.
yeah. Don't
I'm
try
gonna
to put
end
the demos I put into there.
Mhm.
Goodbye.
But we'll see you tomorrow, okay, guys? Have a great day.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Whoa, whoa,
Bye.
whoa, whoa.